So you did like the book.
Ha ha.
You didn't like it?
It was fucking shit.
And we're back, Rory.
Hello, everyone.
Hi.
I have returned.
She has.
I am alive.
No, she's not. She's come out on the other end of this fucking book.
But I am saged now.
You are who?
I'm Rory.
And I'm Roni.
And guess what this is?
This is an episode, a very interesting episode of Have and Have Not.
The podcast where we do what, Roni?
The podcast where one of us reads a book and the other one tells the other one to read a book. But this one is a bit of an outlier because I actually was unable to finish this book the 3 times I started it. It's Tower of Dawn by Sarah J. Maas.
So, if you've been following season 1 of this podcast, we've been doing the Throne of Glass series. Last episode, I kind of lost my mind a little bit.
We both kind of lost our mind a bit. I was yelling about mothers and fathers and sisters and matrons and fighting. And
now, the thing about that episode that's significant is that was the episode I said that I officially thought this series was shit, and that everybody who was coming at me like, no, you just have to wait, like you don't understand, she's got all these reveals, it'll all make sense, like the spider's web will unravel, and I said, you're all full of shit. And after reading this book, that opinion has only strengthened.
Yeah,
I didn't think it could get worse.
So this is a very special episode of Have and Have Not because I have not read this book. I know what happens in it. I know the important things, but I actually have not gotten through the entire plot.
Because it's insufferable.
And here's the thing. I was about to start my reread, and Rory was like, you know what? I'm about halfway done. Don't do it. This is going to be an interesting take on it. And I said, okay. So I'm Roni, and I have not read Tower of Dawn.
Yeah, well, you're about to hear all about it from me, who actually plowed through this garbage.
You did it so quick too.
You know what's funny is that about this book is that so little happens in it that it was actually easier to get through because I could put my Audible at
Kingdom of Ash is going to be a
I'm sure it's going to take me forever.
That one's going to take you forever.
Well, because this one, nothing happens in it, so I could put my Audible at double speed and still follow what was happening. You know, like in the other books, I had to really pay attention.
Yeah, this one, you're going to have to bring that Audible back down, babes.
Yeah, I know. So I got through this one quick for that reason. Now, I'm going to have a lot of commentary. Who knows how long this episode's going to be? There's not a lot of plot in this book, so I think most of what we're going to say today is going to be it's
going to be me responding to what happens in the plot that I never read.
Yeah, and me just talking about, ooh, Tobes just jumped.
We're at my apartment again, which means my cat is going to be making
another appearance.
He timed that perfectly. He's going to be making noise. He just got the zoomies and zoomed onto his little window perch.
He wants to hear what we have to say about this book, although I don't know why, because it's garbage. So let's start off.
Oh, wait. What are we drinking, Roni? We are drinking something that I literally just whipped up because I had vodka, she brought cranberry juice, and I had some... Oh my God.
He is really running.
He's really having a good time today. And I had some pomegranate liqueur.
Yeah, don't worry. We'll post a really clever theme to drink. But right now, I just want you all to know before we get started that I finished this book in a huff. I was in a fucking rage. And
she texted me immediately after. She's like, I'm so mad I can't come over right now and record. I'm like, you can. She's like, I'll be over tonight.
And my rage has circled back around to actually amusement. There were multiple times I laughed out loud during this read, and I was in such a bad mood. I was like, I need to talk about this now, but it's okay. So I'm going to be in a much better mood. I mean, I drove 40 minutes to get here. I listened to the Beatles. I got myself a cup of coffee with some cinnamon creamer. I tried to make a night of it. And at this point, I think this is going to be hilarious.
Okay. I'm nervous.
Okay, so
we're drinking, and you know the drill.
Oh, she's got to do it. Best bit in the show.
You can join us if you're of the legal drinking age in whatever state, province, city, town, whatever the fuck you're in. But if you're not over the age of 21, 18 in the other places, or 16, or I heard 14 in Germany. I don't know if that's right. Is it right? 14 in Germany. It might be 14 in Germany. Anyway, if you're not over the legal age of drinking and you're resident
Okay.
Best fit in the Is it true that Germany is 14 for beer drinking?
I don't know. I don't know if
Some
anybody-
Germans, please correct me if
Yeah.
I'm wrong.
If there's any Germans listening to this podcast.
Ich spreche Sie Deutsch. That's it.
Okay. Well, so let's get started, all right? So the last
Krankenwagen.
the last we saw Kale was...
Antibibapillen. I'm done.
Okay.
That's all I got.
This book centers around the two worst characters, in my opinion, which
Kale.
is fucking Chal
Chal.
and Nezrin. And we haven't seen them since book 4, which, by the way, I re-listened to that podcast recently, and man, was I charitable to that
We actually
book.
just recently listened to all of the podcasts, and we could hear the dramatic increase in quality and our commentary quality. It's like it's a stark difference. We're like different humans than we were.
Well, I went into this series like thinking this would just be a fun, like casual and I didn't take it so seriously, but as I got more and more frustrated with these books, I just got angrier, and so my commentary turned a lot more serious.
I
because
told you
she
you
was
would shit a
pissing me
chicken with
off.
this fucking book series.
Oh my god. So I was way too charitable with that book, in my opinion. Because there's things that I didn't even address when we were talking about it that still make no sense, and we'll get to
Yeah.
it later because it comes up.
Speaking of no sense, I'm going to plug the next season. Guys, the next time I'm going to make Rory read a book series, it will be From Blood and Ash, like officially. So if she doesn't think that stuff makes sense now, she won't know what the fuck hit her.
Oh my god. I
It's
can't
gonna
wait.
be amazing.
I've had a-
Redconning will have a whole new definition because it is only ever happening all the time.
I've had a brush with Jennifer L. Armentrout before.
Armentrout.
Is it Trout? Armentrout. I used to say Trout as a kid because I found her books for free in the school library.
I'm in truth.
Yeah, I found her books for free
Armentrout.
in my high school library,
Ooh.
and I read like the first 2 books in the Wicked series, and to my shock, found out that they were made into Passionflix movies like
Oh
10
my
years later.
gosh.
Oh, memories. Anyway, let's get started on this book. I don't want to keep prolonging the inevitable because I have a lot to say. So are we ready, Ronnie?
I'm ready, Freddy, and I'm ready, Freddy, because I do not know what the fuck to expect.
So we can thank bookseriesrecap.com for this recap. I also have notes to go along with it, so I'm going to be going back and forth between like comments I wrote down and what this says. Okay, ready? So, haven't seen Kale for a whole book. Didn't miss him one bit.
I forgot that he was a character.
Totally did. He could have easily died when he was supposed to fake die, but no, he fake died and he's fine.
And can he not just real die?
Yeah, can't he? He should have just real died. There are a couple people who should have just
Actually,
real died.
In a way, it's better that he doesn't real die because he is actually integral in a roundabout way.
He's so not, though. That's what I'm going to get to in this book.
No, in a roundabout way, he is integral to the resolution of this entire series.
I, at this point, disagree because
I am factually and contractually correct about this.
so far this book proved to me that Kale is in fact the most useless fucking character, and even when she gave him his own goddamn book, he still accomplished nothing.
He accomplished this dick.
He literally got a girlfriend. And that's the plot. It's like, okay, we'll get to it. So, Kale and Nezrin, who, by the way, I want to reiterate because I mentioned it briefly in a previous episode, and I really want to hammer home how fucking weird it is that Nezrin was introduced
4 books in
4 books in.
to a established book series that was going to be
Yeah.
how many books again?
Well, it's not even that it's a new character, right? Like, because that happens in a series that you're going to introduce new characters in different books. It's the fact that, like, Kale's been in 3 books, and Nezrin shows up, and it's like, oh, yes, remember Nezrin? My fuck buddy Nezrin? And we're like,
the one that I
no.
was with before I even met Selena?
You know, when I porked you, Selena, I was also porking Nezrin, but you didn't see that. Like, it's
No. I porked her like 2 weeks before we porked.
yeah, we were like
2
kind
weeks
of over.
before you made me that lovely breakfast or dinner or whatever the fuck.
4 weeks after you came to my birthday party. Like, it was...
And I was
It's
like,
so
birthday
weird.
party?
Yeah, it's so fucking weird. And what drives me insane about this book being so centered around Kaol and Nezrin is because I don't know Nezrin and I don't give a fuck about her.
Who does?
It's not a fun, like, spin-off, I want to say. Like, what would be cool is if, I wouldn't want this because it wouldn't make sense, but if you could find a way to make it make sense, like, this would be interesting if this was, say, like, Kaol and Lysandra, like, a character we know better, where
And
it's like, oh,
actually
let's see
like.
how, right, well, like, let's see how the two of them are on their own. Like, Nezrin and Kaol have this pre-established relationship we never saw and
Where
don't
it's
really
like
care
the
about.
sexual tension. I remember the first few hundred pages. The sexual tension was like present, and like she's like, "Hey," and he's like,
Well, it's weird because they keep acting like they're a couple, but they're not. Okay, we'll get to it. So
they're explicitly not a couple.
they're explicitly, we'll get to it. Hold on. I have a lot to say about that. So first of all, Kaol and Nezrin, who I hate them both.
Yeah.
They arrive in Antica because that was where they were supposed to be going.
Which is, again, another continent that was introduced.
Yeah.
The southern continent was just... I don't think it was randomly introduced because I did read the book that, like, you meet Irene in.
Okay, but fuck that book. Because I'm going to get a lot of hate. And even Ronnie's been giving me a hard time that I didn't read Assassin's Blade. And here's my stubborn reason as to why, is because I know it feels like a retcon patch job. Like, all the things...
It was made before everything.
No, all the things that happen in Assassin's Blade are conveniently things to make the later books make sense. Like, I didn't read the prequel novella that shouldn't be a necessity to the series, and there are things that come off fucking weird as shit in the later books that aren't as weird if you read this retconny patch job book.
Well,
like, this information...
It's not a patch job. It was the novellas were published before she even published the first book. It's not a patch if it comes first.
Shouldn't have been the case.
It's just the genes that have the holes.
But
the rest of the books are the patches.
No, then that shouldn't have been the case because it feels like a patch job. If you didn't know that information, that's how it comes across.
It doesn't feel like a patch job, in my opinion, because I saw it as a way... I agree, she shouldn't have brought in all these characters so late. But, like... It brought a different side to Selena. So if you had read that first, like as like 0.5 as it's listed on Goodreads, if you read that first and then you read the first Throne of Glass book and then the second Throne of Glass book, you would have known Selena a lot more than we knew her.
But here's the thing, from what everybody told me about what happens in Assassin's Blade, it's still stupid to me. Because, okay, sure, you introduce...
You find out about Rolf the Pirate King.
Don't care.
You find out about Irene and how Selena...
Let's take your point. Take your point. Let's go with Irene. Let's take your point about Irene, because I know where you're going with this. I still think it's stupid, and I'll tell you why.
Selena funded her trip to the...
Okay, and what does that add?
Shuratevne. What?
What does that add? Why? What does that add?
It means that Selena is the reason why Kaol gets some pussy.
And... like, do you see what I'm saying? It's like, why... Why? Just why?
I think she set it up for potential future stuff, but I don't think she knew what she was going to set it up for.
Because the whole thing with Irene, right? It's like, that adds absolutely nothing. And then she's not introduced until the second to last book. And it's
if you think about it,
weird.
Technically, you meet her before you meet Kaol and Dorian.
It's still weird, and
you wanted to slam that glass down so hard, I could tell.
No. It's still weird, and we'll get to why, because I don't want to get to that plot point yet.
Okay.
So it's all still weird.
Anyway, I personally think Assassin's Blade, if it's going to be read, should be read. I'm just saying this for the audience who forgets. Should be read after Heir of Fire, because the first novella that really comes into prominence talks about Arabin and everything that happened with Sam, and that's immediately relevant right before Queen of Shadows.
Okay, I don't have time to talk about it. So
I'm just reiterating my preferred reading order, which is considered the romantic reading order, just so you know.
I understand that. All I'm saying is I still have issues with it, and even if that information makes later information make sense, quote unquote, that's still a huge pacing issue. Like, this series...
I don't think it has to make it makes. I think she did it. I agree with you to an extent, but I feel like she didn't... You didn't read Assassin's Blade. I think it definitely took away from a bit of the emotional impact that some of these other characters had, but I don't think you had to read it in order to understand that Selena had a feud with Rolf, or had a stint with the Silent Assassins, or had met Irene and funded her trip to the Torre Cesne. Is that what it's called?
The Torre Cesme.
Okay, I told you guys I read a bit of this book. I remember shit.
But those three things, and then we can move on, at least in my opinion, those three things, like those three big things that everybody points to is what's relevant in Assassin's Blade. Like,
And
her
Sam.
relationship to Rolf, Sam, and the whole thing with Irene. All of those things, to me, I don't feel like were, like, added much. Like, because reading...
Because you didn't read it.
No, because I'm hearing about it, and I'm, like, reading the book, and honestly, her having a feud with Rolf before she shows up, reading that book, it's basically like, oh yeah, I knew Rolf back when I was an assassin, just like everything back when I was an assassin before the first book. You're like, okay, I get it. Selena had a past, cool. Like,
But
didn't
they
need
had
it,
a
doesn't
thing
add anything.
regarding slaves. Like,
Which,
what,
oh my god, talk about the fucking slaves.
but then she turned into a slave, so it was kind of like a turnabout moment. And then you find out how she...
I couldn't give less of a shit about her
Can we
relationship
agree to disagree?
Sam.
Shake hands. Shake hands.
Fine. I still think it's dumb. But, like, either way, whatever. So, Kaol and Nesrin hate them both. They arrive in Antarctica, yet another continent that we're
Antarctica.
exploring for the first time.
Don't you love how
Antarctica.
the southern continent is so close to Antarctica?
Oh, sure. And also the fact that
Antarctica.
so much of the world building in Antarctica makes absolutely no sense,
No,
but
it
we'll talk
doesn't.
about it. So, they see a white cloth hanging from windows everywhere and realize someone important has died.
Okay.
So they reach the palace.
Was it the town baker?
No, it wasn't the town baker. We'll talk about
where
who it
do I
is.
get my rye now?
So I mean, Nesrin would know all about that, apparently, right? She was like a baker's daughter, which is so fucking hilarious to me, but...
Isn't Nesrin from Antarctica, or her family is?
Yeah, technically Nesrin is her family's from Antarctica, which
She's Anticanian.
She's Anticanian. Which had a lot of boring scenes of her hanging out with her family that made me want to blow my brains out.
And isn't it funny? Wait, does she actually, remind me, does she talk to Kaol at all about the socio-political, economical state of Antarctica on their ship right over? Or,
I don't know, but
the fact that we don't know that she didn't prep him.
No, but we do know they didn't fuck because he was too insecure about not having working legs. We do know that, though.
But we don't know if he knew what he was not walking into.
Oh!
Shit! Oh, Ronnie, that was a fucking burn.
You're so stupid.
What is it?
Like, so literally, like, by the way, Kaol and Nesrin, who barely have scenes together in this book, like, they are separated for most of it. But anyway, they come to the city and they realize somebody important must have died because of all these white cloths. And so when they get to the palace...
I think everyone's just hanging their loincloths.
By the way, when they get to the palace, the king of Antarctica is called the Coggin, which...
Like the dessert?
Like, okay. It becomes, like, I don't know.
Like the Coogan?
Like, I get she wants
Like
to
a
use
nice cherry Coogan?
No, it's a Coggin. So... The Coggin has 6 children. Now he's got 5.
Because one
and
of the kids died.
Because the important person that died was the youngest of these 6 children, who was a girl. I think her name is Tumaloon, but it doesn't really matter, to be honest, because the mystery is disappointing in the end. So anyway, it says, tradition in Antarctica says that heirs of the Coggin will eventually battle it out for the throne. They don't have like an inherited
I do remember that
system, which causes a whole set of world building problems when conflicts come up later. But put a pin in it. So Nesrin is emotional about arriving in Antarctica, where her father is from and where her uncle and cousins still are. That's what it says here. And so, I don't have much to say about that. They greet the Coggin and his children, and Kaol presents a large amount of gold and jewels from Aelin to basically bribe the Coggin to, like, be their allies in this war against Erewhon.
Do you remember where those jewels were from?
They were from...
I think they were technically Selena's. Or no. They were also from Arabin's. They were from
Arabin. Yeah, they were from Arabin.
Ah, I forgot.
So wait.
No, I didn't, because I said
Hold
it
on.
after all.
So they come and they're doing this to be allies, and the Coggin's like, you can't buy me. And he basically tells them that he's got spies everywhere, and
Oh, okay. Well, I've got no working legs, sir. What do you think I'm going to be sneaking around about?
and that he knows all this like stuff about Aelin and what she's been doing, which is mostly like old information. He needs to get some new spies because
Well, there's a whole fucking ocean between them.
but it's like this old information about Aelin. And what's funny to me is that they're trying to ally themselves with the Coggin for this war with Erewhon, but they don't tell him that the war is against Erewhon.
Yeah, they like. He's like, give me a good reason why I should ally with you, and Kale's like sitting there like, huh. You know what? Fuck, beats me. You're right.
Which, like,
Can you rehabilitate me though? Still,
they literally still think that Aelin Galathinius and Dorian Havilyard are fighting a war against Duke Parrington.
Duke Parrington died. In
Like-
essence, he's just gone.
Which they have no good reason to not tell these people who they're fighting against. Like, this could go bad in two separate ways.
I feel like the fact that they're not saying, hey, guys, we're actually fighting an interdimensional evil man who was here thousands and thousands of years ago, back when Mala Firebringer and the people we consider gods walked the earth as mortals. So, hey, this is a big fucking deal.
Well, it's not even just that, right? Like, this could go bad in two ways. Either they agree to the war under the assumption that they're fighting Duke Parrington, and then what were you going to say? Surprise, it's Vogue! Like, what?
We didn't tell you that they can, like, control each other by using, a ring? Shit.
Like, they think they're signing up for a merry little war just, like, for funsies, and it's like the fucking Armageddon war. Like, it's like the war of all wars.
They're expecting it to be like the Monty Python encounter, like that kind of a war
Yeah,
where they
what?
ride stick horses, and they go into it, and like there's, instead of stick horses on the other side, it's fire-breathing dragons. You're like, what the fuck?
Yeah, like, way to not tell people what they're up against. And half of the time they're saying they don't want to get involved in the war because they think it's not their business because they don't realize what the stakes are. You have no reason to
Literally,
not tell them
the
what's
stakes
going on.
are the entire world.
It's so stupid. And Kael says like a dumb as fuck quote to himself that's basically like, oh, I'm gonna keep that to the chest to see if the information can be used. And I'm like, now is when you use the information.
This is the hand that you should have been playing from the beginning.
Yeah, what reason do these people have to fight with you?
Zero. Rory, zero.
That's so stupid.
You are living in their house, in their palace, after the death of a child, and you're like, huh?
It's like, hey, I know your daughter just died, but here's a fucking stack of gold from a lost queen who hasn't queened in 18 years.
And some false information. Ba-dum-bum.
And a bunch of lies. I know you're saying you don't trust me, and you totally have reason to. It's so stupid. So,
Yeah, very stupid.
but they do have a heart, and they see that Kael is injured, that he doesn't have functional legs.
But
And
you know what, like, does work?
But yeah, oh my god, she
His
makes
dick.
a point to tell us that, oh yeah, his dick still fucking works. Don't you worry, ladies. Kael's dick
I
is
might not
still...
got control of two of my legs, but I can work the third.
It's still up and running, don't you fret.
It's still-
So...
It's always up because Nesrid and him haven't fucked.
So this is what drives me insane about coming to Antica, is that we're introduced to a whole new cast of characters. So not only do we have to deal with the Coggin, but his 6 fucking kids, like, including the dead one who we have to remember. So
Oh,
we're
fucking-
interacting with his stupid fucking children, and we're dealing with a mystery of who killed the youngest one, Tumaloon. And
Tumaloon.
I'm like, we literally have an annoying amount of characters that she fails to develop, like, already, and now we're in a whole other continent dealing with 6 people from one family plus Kael and Nesrin who've, like, Kael's the only one who's gotten any kind of character development at this point in time.
I wouldn't call that development.
Yeah, and even then I would just say he got dumped and was sad about it, and then he, like,
I would
got
just say
attacked.
he has a character that has not developed much.
Yeah.
Literally, even towards the end of Queen of Shadows, he was reluctant to help Selena save the world.
Yeah, so It's annoying. So anyway, they notice that he has like these, no working legs, and he's technically a, like a ambassador, I guess is, a loose term.
He was appointed the
hand of the king
yeah.
to Dorian, so he's kind of like an emissary right now to Antica, so they're like, oh, we'll treat you with like respect and blah, blah, blah. So they tell him that they'll let him work with one of their healers because the Torre Chesme in Antica is known for its healers. Because,
which is what I was mentioning before, which...
Yes. Well, because this is important, because this apparently is like one of the few times her world building is consistent where magic was outlawed, which included the healers in, Dorian's father's kingdom. So...
Aurelia,
Ilwe, whatever.
Aurelia.
Yeah, so whatever.
Is that it?
It doesn't matter. In Dorian's dad's kingdom, for the long time, they didn't really have...
It was Otterlin. But I mean the continent. I think it's Aurelia.
Who cares? So... The point is that there weren't a lot of reputable healers because a lot of them used magic and magic was banned. So the Torre Chesme in Antica has a lot of magic healers, and the most the one who's set to inherit like the title of like the big cheese healer at the Torre Chesme is a young woman named Irene. So Chaol's like, fine, I'll work with your healers.
Come on, Irene. Oh, come on, my dick.
Oh my god.
I just want you to fix my legs so I can take you right in the asshole.
The Coggin tells Chaol that Rifthold has been sacked, which is when Manon's 13 attacked.
Yeah.
And she didn't kill Dorian, a point I'm still annoyed about.
That she didn't kill him?
Because we talked about this last episode, it makes no sense why she didn't kill him.
Because of his eyes.
It's his eyes.
Because of his face.
So Chaol's like,
oh
shit, I hope Dorian's okay. And Nezrin is also in shock because her family was in Rifthold when this happened. But guess who doesn't give a shit? Me. Because I don't care about Nezrin, and we don't know anything about her family except they were bakers. So moving on.
Where's my rye?
So Cashin, I don't know who that is, tells Chaol how the Torre healers have helped many people with injuries similar to his, and so he invites them to their family dinner each night. So he's invited to go...
Cashin is one of the...
Oh, Cashin! Oh, she pronounces it in the audiobook Caution, which was making me infuriated.
Like, be careful? Like, caution?
Yes, she was pronouncing it Caution.
Funny.
So I'm going to say caution.
I like how I said caution, but I did the sign language for caution. Like, you know what I mean. You don't know what I mean. You don't know what the sign is for caution.
No, I don't.
It's caution.
Okay, cool. I won't remember that.
You guys couldn't see it because it's a one-way auditory medium. Suck it.
Oh, yeah. So it's spelled here caution, but the audiobook reader was saying caution, which was driving me up a fucking wall. And I'm inclined to believe that's how it's said because the audiobook readers tend to ask about that.
They're given a pronunciation guide.
So if his name is Caution, Sarah J. Maas, go fuck yourself. That's so stupid.
Should we be careful of him? Is he the evil one?
No. Caution is the oldest son.
So you should be cautious
of the kingdom. Even though, weirdly, Caution is, like, not seen to be the one who's going to inherit the throne. Like, because when they ultimately all duke it out, they don't think it'll be Caution. But Caution's, like, cool, and he has kind of a thing for Irene, which we'll talk about. So Caution has this thing for Irene, but he tells Chaol that, no worries, Irene's great, she'll help heal you, because we know people who've had similar injuries, and they've been healed, and Chaol's, like, super optimistic about this, and he's invited to dine with the siblings every night, even though they're all still kind of in mourning. Mm-hmm. Oh, but also, Caution is the only sibling who voices to Chaol, for no reason, by the way, because they've just met, and he has no reason to trust Chaol, but for some reason, he tells Chaol and not the rest of his siblings that he thinks that Tumaloon, his youngest sister, was murdered because everyone's saying that she committed suicide, which he doesn't buy because, yes, when they talk about the death, it's very fucking suspicious. Like, she fell off a balcony or some shit. Like, yeah, okay. And so... Yeah.
I remember this part. I remember I think I got up to, like, chapter 18, 19, or 20.
But anyway, it's dumb because he's like... He has no reason to tell Chaol this, and he's like, why? And Chaol's understandably like, why are you telling me this? And Caution's like, well, like, an outside perspective. And I'm like, that's so weak.
Dude, like, what?
That's so weak.
Like,
There's
why?
6 of you and you didn't trust any of your siblings with this. None of you, like, pointed fingers. Like, this seems kind of weird that our beloved sister Tumaloon would kill herself.
Well, they all have a vested interest in her death.
No, they don't, actually. That's what's weird. Is
But they want to kill each other to get the throne.
That's the thing. She's so inconsistent about this world building. She's saying that they're competing for the throne, but at the same time, Caution's like, we all loved Tumaloon. And I'm like, wait, what?
This feels counterintuitive.
It's very odd, this world building.
It's like liking having the Black Plague.
Yeah, it's like this world building in Antica really makes no sense, and it gets worse.
I don't know what her anticas are with this world building. My feet are cold. I'm sorry. I like how I use my feet being cold as a reason why I have a bad joke. My toes are
She just talks like this, you guys.
I do, actually.
So, anyway.
The podcast is very much how I talk IRL,
So, yeah, the healer at the Torre is a young woman named Irene Towers, which is so stupid.
Tower of Dawn.
Yeah, Tower of Dawn. And the Torre Chesme translates to, like, Tower of, like, some shit.
Don't you like how her name is spelled Yrene? Irene.
Infuriating.
Irene.
Infuriating.
But it's pronounced Irene, like, come on, Irene.
Yeah, that's Eileen, you dumbass. It's come on, Eileen, not Irene.
Are you serious?
I'm 100% serious. She's gonna Google it.
I don't know where my phone is. I cannot Google it.
I promise you, it's come on, Eileen. So Irene has been training and healing with her magic, which again is very vague.
Her magic?
Yeah, they literally just say her magic, and when she's healing Kaol with magic, quote unquote, we never fully understand what that means.
I'd like to think that when it's like a Pennywise type dance from It, and like where he's dancing in the carnival at the very end, and then just fire shooting out of her ass crack.
It could be. I mean, again,
I mean they don't specify, so I'm gonna go with that.
Yeah, they really don't.
And steam out her ears. Her eyes are gonna roll backwards like those jackpot slots like you get at like the gambling center that I've never been to.
Oh my god. You know what was a weird scene?
Just picture this. This is something else.
I can't with you, man. You know what? Oh, speaking of which, there's a weird scene at the beginning of this book that I literally wrote down in my notes. Wait, what the fuck? Why is the servant assuming she's supposed to fuck Kaol? Like,
yeah.
They establish that they're much more, like, liberal with their sexuality in Antica, which, racist. And also, like, that's a little weird. Okay, like, Antica is very brown-coded, and it's a little weird that they're, like, this overly sexual to the point where the servant's just casually walking in like, so you want to fuck? Like, it's like,
you want me to service you, sir? And he's like, yes. And she starts to like kneel down. He's like, what are you doing? She's like, servicing you. And he's like, I'm good. I wanted a bath.
I'm
not
sweaty.
Like that kind of lapping.
Yeah, so that was a little weird to me. But so anyway, Irene has been training and healing with her magic at the Torre for a few years. And Hafisa is, like, the head healer, and Irene is supposed to, like, inherit Hafisa's role when Hafisa...
Because Irene is the best of the best, because, of course, we can't have anyone who's mediocre at anything in these books.
It gets even worse later. Holy shit, is there a stupid as fuck reveal. But anyway.
I think I only made it to their second or third encounter.
Just wait. I'm so excited.
Okay,
oh my
sorry.
god, I'm so
excited. I'm
excited.
Need more alcohol before we get that far.
You're gonna hold on to your butt because this is great.
Hold on to my butt.
Yeah, so Hafisa is her boss, and Hafisa basically orders Irene to tend to Kaol, even though she doesn't want to, because Kaol's from Otterlin, and he served the evil king that's responsible for killing her whole family, basically. Which, side note, to spoil it here, Irene and Kaol are love interests.
It's pretty established from their first encounter that like, they will be love interests.
They are love interests. And I know that all of y'all out there love enemies to lovers, and so do I. But I will say that Sarah J. Maas has this huge problem with enemies to lovers, where it's not like normal enemies to lovers. It's like, you worked for the man who slaughtered my whole family, but you're so hot. Like, that is not... No.
That's what an enemy is.
That's not... No. Like, that's not, oh, we had a misunderstanding. Oh, we don't see eye to eye. Oh, we bicker all the time. It's like, you literally are morally opposed Like, you are responsible. Like,
I
that is
find
crazy.
you morally irreprehensible, but wanna fuck?
And I don't want to hear this bullshit of like, well,
The
K.O. didn't
DTF.
believe what the king would do. It doesn't fucking matter. It does not matter. He worked for the king. He was loyal to the king. He was loyal to Dorian, who was loyal to the king. I don't give a fuck that he didn't agree with the king's message. He still was doing it. So shut the fuck up.
Lame ass.
And he is responsible for the death of Irene's whole family. So she understandably, like, doesn't want to heal him. And Hafisa's like, well, too bad. You're going to do it anyway.
She's like, you took the equivalent of the Hippocratic Oath. You have to do it.
Yeah. So Hafisa wishes she would stay and continue her training, but she's passed her final test with the highest marks ever because, of course, she.
Okay, Hermione Granger.
Of course. And Irene knows she is prepared, so she'll do this. But Hafisa asks that she do this for her because reasons. I don't know why Hafisa cares if K.O.'s healed.
It's never revealed.
No. I guess it's just her bosses told her that he had to be. I don't know.
Okay.
But Hafisa, for some
I
reason...
wish there was a secret reason. Maybe that would have made it seem more interesting.
Nope. Nope. No good reason. Just she's like, you have to do this, Irene. And Irene's like, fine. And you're like, okay.
And she's like, well, I'm not going to be nice to him about it.
Yeah. So she's pretty upset, understandably so. So Irene shows up to evaluate K.O. and she's notably late. And she's very rude to him, which he takes note of. And he's, like, immediately insulted, which I guess I get. But at the same time, it's kind of like, dude, like, you pissed off a lot of people. Maybe you should calm the fuck down.
And he's also, like, not a very likable person.
Yeah, K.O. kind of sucks.
Chow is kind of... I told you how much I hate leafy greens. So, like, I feel like I need to reiterate that. Like, kale sucks.
I did get a little more sympathy for him in this book, just from, like, having to spend so much goddamn time with him. But generally, he's a sucky character. And I just couldn't... I just was really bored by him.
Question. Do you find him redeemable?
I guess. I mean...
I like how you didn't say yes. You said I guess.
Well, here's the thing, right? Like, I don't think any of these characters are, like, good people. I think they all have a cause, and you're either, like, aligned with it, or you're either resigned to it, or you're not. Because I've made clear I don't agree with what Aylin's motivations generally are. And I also think...
being told that she has to do it.
Yeah, or because, like, because...
We had a whole conversation about this last episode.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So I don't agree with that with Aylin. And also, K.O. points out towards the end of this book, and he's not exactly wrong, that Aylin, even though he's been a shit, Aylin's treated K.O. like shit.
She kind of has.
Yeah, like, and...
He also was the reason for the death of her only true friend.
Which she has no right to be fucking mad about anymore because Nehemia did it on purpose. So that kind of is completely taken back that K.O. is responsible for jack shit because Nehemia went in knowing she was going to die and died on purpose.
I still don't okay, so I was like re-listening to Crown of Midnight. I'm so sorry to sidebar, but this kind of relates. Like, how Elena, the ghost, told Nehemia that she was going to die, but she didn't tell her when or how. So, like, did Nehemia just walk around thinking every day that she was going to get, like, stabbed?
Who knows? I don't know. I don't have the answer to that.
Isn't that weird, though?
Yes.
She, like, walks out. She's like, I made it through another night. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, pretty much.
Time to trick Selena.
Kale's even off the hook for that one. That was my one gripe against Kale, was that he let Nehemia die, and after that's taken away from him, Aelin has no reason to be this asshole-ish to him.
Yeah, but she also doesn't know. Now she knows that. Okay, chronologically, neither of them know that Nehemia knows that they're going to die yet. Because remember, this takes place as, like, Empire of Storms is happening. It's kind of, like, overlapped.
I'm getting so overheated. Can you pause this so I can take my sweater off?
Yes.
Go.
Go.
Okay, we're back. So anyway, we're going to keep going. We're refreshed. I took my sweater off because I'm getting heated.
And we have another beverage.
Yes, we do. It's Voodoo Ranger. It's a nice IPA. IPA.
Juice Force IPA.
So, anyway, so Irene evaluates Kale, and she's really rude to him. And she basically tells him, because he's all pissy towards her, he's like, what's your problem, bro? And she's like, never mind what my problem is. We'll see if I'll heal you. Bleh. And he's like, okay.
Which,
Not before they both make note of how hot they think the other is.
And he's like, oh, I definitely have sensations.
Oh my god, this was so weird. I don't care. This was weird. That she's supposed to be a medical professional and she's evaluating this man who is now bound to a chair because he was like struck by evil magic in his spine. And she's
Quite
like
literally
pulling his shirt up and she's like...
He was struck by potent evil magic that they have never seen before, by the way.
Girl, you're supposed to be a professional. Why are you, like, drooling over him? This is so weird.
This is good.
It is good, this drink. But, so anyway, yeah, it's weird. So she basically says, we'll see if I come back, because she doesn't want to heal him. But she notes, though, that he's different than she expected an Honorlani and soldier to be. Like, it doesn't change the fact that he worked with the evil ghoul king who, like, killed your whole family. Okay, girl.
He defended the actions of the evil king.
Like, bro, what?
Until he literally could not do so morally.
Yeah, basically.
Which was a pretty far line for him.
Yeah, which was pretty, like, it took him a while.
Even, I would argue, kind of into Queen of Shadows.
Yeah,
He never fully switched sides.
Yeah, well, he's always primarily concerned about Dorian, which makes sense, but still. Oh, so the dark magic. So this was so funny to me that, okay, so Kaol, you're meant to assume in Queen of Shadows that broke his spine, and that's why he's paralyzed. Like, he was shot with evil magic somehow and also broke his spine. I love, though, that the way she frames it is it's just the evil magic that is keeping him paralyzed.
It wasn't the fact that a glass castle collapsed on him.
Like, it's not the fact that he's got a fucking spine that was shattered and broken.
No.
It's the evil magic that hit his spine.
No. The spine healed on its own. That one's fine. Like, we're good.
We just need to heal the evil magic, and we're good.
Yeah.
It's not
you
the
know
spine.
how he like fell and like was crushed by a whole building? Well, the evil magic actually cushioned his fall and the ceiling from falling, so it's literally just the evil magic.
Exactly. So, apparently, she just needs to, like, heal the evil magic in his spine.
How does she do that? With, like, sensual caresses?
We don't know.
Essentially.
We don't know. It's literally...
With just this ambiguous magic?
No, the way she writes it is literally, like, I'm being a little exaggeratory, but not really. I'm being so serious, Ronnie. The way she writes it is like, Irene worked pulling the evil magic out of his spine, and they worked all day, and it was so much effort, and they were both screaming by the end. And I'm like, what did she do?
Sounds like she's trying to, like, pass a kidney stone.
For real, dude. Like, it just says Irene is, like, basically sucking the evil magic out of his wound. And that's, like, all that we get.
She sucked the magic dry like a juice pouch.
Yeah, he's like a Capri Sun. It's like, that's all we get. That's it. And so,
I'm sorry for my animal screeches, guys.
Whatever,
I realize how many times I do them.
Whatever. Okay. So, Nesrin goes to her family in town. It was boring as fucking sin.
This is 9.5% alcohol. I'm so sorry.
It's cool.
That's a lot.
It's cool. It's cool.
For a beer.
So, Nesrin notably forms a friendship. I want to put air quotes around that. Friendship with another prince. So, Caution's brother, who's another prince, Sartak. Now, the only relationship I could give less of a shit about than Irene and Kaol's is fucking Nesrin and Sartak.
Are they couples?
Oh, yeah, baby.
Fuck.
Because anytime two people go off together, notice how this is a pattern with her, that like Aelin and Rowan, and then Elide and Lorcan, and then like now it's
can't
Kaol
anyone
and
be a
Irene
single like baddie?
And Nesrin and Sartak, or even if you're gonna pair people off to go on an adventure, why can't it be friends or anything else? It always has to be a romantic, like, she's not confident in her own writing that I'll be interested in the story without sexual tension.
You know damn well if she had sent Aelin and Adian off on an adventure, they would have come back engaged, because
that's just how she writes. Yeah. 100%.
She doesn't care about the familial ties.
No, so anyway, Nezrin has this thing with Sartak. They start to, like, hang out. And Kale asks...
That was dramatic.
Yeah. Argan, I forget who that is, what else he knows about Riftholds, since he's the one who brought the intel to his father. Oh, Argan's another prince.
I was about to say, I remember Argan.
There's so many of them, dude. There's fucking
There's
six.
6 of them.
Yeah.
That's 6.
Oh, and the sister that we need to take note of, because she comes up later, is Duva. So Duva is, like, the oldest sister, and she's already married, and she's pregnant. So whoopee for her. And every time...
if she turns into queen, then she has a secured line.
Yes, that's kind of why people think Duva's going to be the next queen, but she's also, like, very timid, and everyone's like, maybe she'll just be happy with her husband and having babies. But by the way, every time Duva's mentioned in a scene, we have to talk about her pregnant belly. Like, she has to write about how Duva's belly is, like, rounded with child.
She has a fucking pregnancy kink.
She does!
This woman has a pregnancy issue.
She does, I'm telling you. So, yeah, every time Duva's on page... we need to mention that she's pregnant, just in case we fucking forgot.
In case you forgot, her belly was swollen with child.
Yeah, basically. So, yeah. But Argan won't say anything, which pisses off Kale. Cool. Kale being angry, what else is new?
Nothing. He's always angry at something.
Okay.
Particularly the content of vitamin K in his composition, because he's a leafy green.
Okay, so, by the way...
moving on.
So this is another weird scene. So there's, like, a fucking weird as fuck love square.
I didn't sign up for that
I
bullshit.
literally wrote in my notes, this book is so horny. Like, there's a weird love square, like, love, like, to quote, what's it called? Terrible writing advice. Where he says it's like a love dodecahedron.
Oh my God.
Because it's like Nezrin and what's his name?
Sizzle.
Sartak. Nezrin and Sartak have a thing, but Nezrin and Kale are like fuck buddies, and then Kale has a thing with Irene, and Irene kind of has a thing with Kale, but Irene also kind of has a thing with Prince Caution, and it's like...
So it's not a square, it's a pentagon.
Yeah, it's fucking weird. So...
Oh my gosh.
So when they go to dinner...
This is getting a bit too correspondent.
Like when they go to dinner together, right? Like everyone's teasing about how Irene has a thing with Caution. Like everybody knows that Caution's interested in Irene, which nobody sees as a big deal, which kind of got me because in previous books, right, like Sorsha and Dorian, it was like a huge no-no that they had a thing.
Well, that just tells you how lax and liberal and super loose and cool, like, the Antica is.
No, but here's where I have a problem, right? Because the inconsistency here is that Dorian he can't be with Sorsha, right? Like, that's a big no-no that he's even though he's known as a playboy, so I don't know who he's seducing. It can't be ladies of the court, because if he's seducing ladies of the court, that's like a huge, even worse deal, because then they're ruined, is how, like, court politics works. So who is he seducing? It has to be servants. So why is it a big deal that he's flirting with Sorsha and it's this big no-no, especially when, in his kingdom, the line is clear. He is going to become king, so even if he fathers bastards with a servant, they're not in line for the throne, unlike here, where everyone's really lackadaisical with, like, the princes having affairs with servants like Irene, even though technically they mention very explicitly that if they were to have children, they could be potential heirs to the throne if they were willing to fight for the throne, which creates this even bigger bloodbath that's already happening amongst, like you know what I'm saying? Like, this is, like, doesn't make sense. Like, she just says shit. She's like, yes, they're no big deal. And I'm like, but wait, that completely contradicts what you were saying before.
I think you've thought more about this series than Sarah J. Maas did when she was writing about
Because, like, I don't know, like, you can't just say things like that to me.
You can't. No, you are very correct. Like, that completely undermines everything. I guess someone would, like I did initially, chalk it up to culture.
Okay, then.
But then it completely doesn't,
like, it
account
would make
for the
way
whole...
more sense that the people in Antica were way more wary of, like, bastards being fathered because they could be potential, like, competitors.
Contendants.
Yeah, for the throne. Like, because that's what happens when bastards are given legitimacy. That's what would happen in, like, ancient China, because bastards had a little bit more leeway. Whereas, like, in cultures where there's a very clear successor
line,
like
yeah.
to the throne, bastards mean absolutely nothing.
No.
So it's weird that in Dorian's case, he can't have an affair
Do you
with the
think
fucking
Sarah J.
healer.
Maas knows what Chinese history is?
I don't know. Probably not.
Probably not. She probably doesn't know that this has serious ramifications.
Which I also think it's funny that she does a lot of things twice. Like, here's another example of a prince having a thing with a healer. Like,
Oh, that is weird.
like again?
Well, this one's a magic healer.
We're doing this again?
This is a magic healer in a magic land.
Yeah, okay.
In
So-
Antarctica.
It's a weird, like, this dinner scene was so bizarre because Caution has this weird, like, vibe with Irene, which makes Kale weird because he's like, ew, I don't like that. And even though he and Irene have had, like, one conversation and Irene's visibly uncomfortable, but then Kale gets mad later because Nesrin doesn't tell him that she's going to be out late with her family, so he's annoyed that she isn't back yet and he's worried about her. And I'm like, okay, this love square, officially, over
It's
it.
a love pentagon.
The love pentagon. Now, I was getting very frustrated with this book by this time.
And how far into this book are we?
Not very. So,
Oh my god.
so wait. Don't worry. We'll. There's some things I won't even touch on because I just thought it was boring.
No, but I just mean like there's serious plot holes now.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, once I started accepting that this was essentially a romance novel, because that's what it started to feel like, where it was like this very slow-paced setting up a relationship book.
Slow burn.
But
Slow
not even
burn.
because it all happens in one book. Like,
Slow burn can happen in one book.
yeah, I guess. Whatever. Once I started accepting it as a romance novel, I started to enjoy it more because I started to, like...
You enjoyed a chaos story?
Enjoy is the wrong word. I started to resign myself to not being angry at it.
I started to become more content and neutral with the whole experience.
Yeah, so Nesrin spends time with her family. Those were the most boring scenes in the whole thing because I don't give a fuck about Nesrin. And Sartak hangs out with her because we have to set up that relationship too. Okay. So Kale, is at this dinner. He's mad about it afterwards. And then Irene tells Kale that she is, in fact, going to heal him. Who the fuck saw that coming?
Not me.
So
I did. I did totally see it. I saw that coming.
Yeah, I know. So...
Because that's literally her job. Mm-hmm. She could have been fired.
Yeah.
Or hung.
Who knows? I don't know. She has Caution on her side, so whatever.
She's got magic on her side.
But anyway, she basically
Dazzle
warns him that Antica is very different from Ireland and that he should be careful about what he says. Because there's a lot more, like, palace intrigue here.
It seems like it's a lot more loosey-goosey.
I know. I'm like, she's like, oh, there's a lot more palace intrigue. And I'm like, there was a lot of palace intrigue in previous
There
books.
was so much palace intrigue that there was a secret doorknob.
There was a talking doorknob. There were secret passageways through the fucking castle, dude.
That led to a secret crypt with a secret word key that was only acceptable.
She does again!
A word key?
Not a word key, but she does secret passageways in the castle a fucking again.
Okay, but do they have a talking doorknob?
No, there's no talking
So
doorknob.
I don't think there's quite as much palace intrigue as there is in Ireland.
So
Talking doorknob, no. Back of the line.
So she's like saying to Kale that she needs to do more research in the library before she can fully heal him, which, what's more exciting than characters doing research?
Is this like research or research?
It's real research. It's so boring.
It's not like research. Like, let me research your
here's the
favorite
thing.
color.
Here's the thing. This is the best way I can describe it, is so many scenes in this book, because she's introducing a, like, you know, last minute before the buzzer runs out love interest for Kale, like the second to last book in the series, she has to fill this book with a bunch of contrived, like, characters spending time together to make you not think this relationship came the fuck out of nowhere. So many scenes in this book. So much of
it is just building their dynamic.
Yeah, well, so much of this book is like boring, I want to say, dates of her and Kale. Like, it's just her and Kale spending time together and, like, getting to know each other, which in an interesting book would already be the case because they're adventuring together. But no, that's not what's happening. We have to have boring conversations about research and boring conversations about shit we already know. That's another thing in this book.
Oh.
She repeats information so much.
Do you not remember A Court of Thorns and Roses? We know she does this.
It's... I mentioned it in a previous episode, but it's so bad in this book.
No. Here's the thing I always say. She thinks that we, as the audience, are dumb as fuck. She thinks that we can't remember shit. She thinks that her audience is like goldfish.
Honestly, it's weird because she'll do it with information I don't need you to repeat, and then other information I'm, like, incredibly confused. Like, I don't need characters telling other characters about events I already fucking saw. You know how many times somebody out loud explains to another person in this book that K.O.G was the captain of the guard to Dorian Havilyard? I fucking know that.
Probably so many times.
I know that. I have 4 books of hearing that.
I have 4 books and K.O.'s internal monologue reminding me that he was the captain of the guard who then lost his legs in a fight to the battle of a castle that fell apart, but it did not break his spine enough to permanently paralyze him, but only the magic got it. Like, I remember there were so many times they talked about this fucking battle, but the thing is, they didn't even talk about the fucking battle to the fucking important people because they left out the fact that there was a whole conflict for magic because Erewhon had returned.
Pretty much. So I literally, by the way, have in my notes about this whole, like, love thing that's going... I know. About this whole love thing that's going on. I
read this part and I'm angry.
I said the first 10 chapters are just setting up this shitty love square and K.O.G doing PT, which is so fucking boring. And I'm gonna amend that to, like, basically the first half of this book,
and
if not more.
You said before, you were like, I have already listened to Roni talk about PT so much.
Yeah.
I don't need to...
If you guys don't know...
I worked at a PT clinic, and...
Yeah, that's kind of Ronnie's thing, and listening to Sarah J. Maas's, like, rudimentary, shitty, like, version of K.O.G doing PT was not fun for me.
No.
Ronnie, it would have driven Ronnie insane, so... especially at this point in time, now that she's got her fancy degree.
She strengthened his hips so they could thrust better.
That's basically what's happening. Which, that was so cringy that he was basically like, he wouldn't fuck Nesrin the whole time they were sailing from, like, wherever they were to...
Otterland.
Okay, so the whole time they were sailing from Otterland to Antica, he basically notes to himself that he wouldn't have sex with Nesrin, even though she's hot, because his legs don't work and he can't take her the way he wants to.
Oh, Nelly. Oh, boy.
I'm like, what kind of bullshit, like, is that? That's so dumb. Okay.
Oh, gee, oh, golly, oh, my.
But fine, it's his damage, not mine, so I get it. Whatever. It's character growth. He learns to accept that he isn't broken.
I just saw my neighbor outside, so...
That's so funny. Hey.
But, I know, that's why I'm like, oh...
Oh, something else I wanted to point out is I put in my notes, all her descriptors are so fucking intense.
Yeah, they just keep getting more intense. Remember how the first book was, like, so great and immersive because it left a lot to the imagination? Mm-hmm. And now, as we're progressing, we can't imagine a single thing for ourselves. So now it feels like it's all, like, this contrived, horribly thought of, descriptive thing. Because she can't trust that we have the imagination and capacity to actually imagine a fantastical world without her telling us every little nitpicky detail.
Well, it's that, but it's also, like, just her adjectives and, like, stuff, because she'll say, like, that his throat was raw, and that he roared, and she sobbed, and I'm like, is that really what's happening right now?
She always uses those.
Like, that is a very intense word. Like, she's like, she sobbed, and I'm like... Wait, so when I hear the word sobbing, I think, like...
A widow.
Like, full on, like, bleh, tears.
Like waterworks.
Yeah, well, absolute waterworks. And I'm like, that doesn't feel like that's what's happening right now. Find a better word.
Like, if I hear sob, like, give me a sentence that I'm supposed to sob.
Yeah, so...
Yeah, so...
Good job.
But, like, that's sobbing.
Yeah, it's like, she'll use very intense words that I just don't think fit the scene. That's a little bit of a nitpick, but it was getting old. Yeah.
It's a hyperbolization.
Absolutely. So, K.O.G basically demands a private meeting with the Coggin. And the Coggin's basically like, fuck you, I'm too busy grieving. And still Chaol won't tell this man that the thing they're facing is a fucking Volg.
Like, I understand you're grieving, but at the same time, sir, it is the end of the world as we know it.
Well, and what's annoying
and
is
you
that
feel
one of the
fine.
princes mentions, I forget to which character, but they do mention that they know the Volg are a thing. It's not like they don't know what the Volg are.
But are they like a mythical thing for them?
I
then?
don't remember how they view it, but he basically says, "Oh, that thing is like there's a thing running around." Like I don't remember, but they know that the Volg are like
A thing.
a thing. So it's not like if you said this, they'd be like pish posh, like you know, like
There's no such thing as a Volg.
Yeah.
No, they'd probably be like, oh shit, it's a Volg. We got to take this seriously and actually support Aelin Ashworther Galathinius in her quest to conquer the Aurelia, whatever.
Oh my god, so can I just read this note? It's so funny.
Yeah.
I said, why do we care about Nesryn? She is such a huge metaphorical eyesore to the story. She shows up out of nowhere with a backstory with Chaol we never got to see. Like, oh yes, remember Nesryn, whom I have had a relationship with for years, even though she's been absent from 3 books, and we're meant to care about her and her relationship to Chaol and her stupid ass backstory? Because they keep talking about Nesryn's backstory, and I don't give a fuck.
She's giving me like Peeta Malark vibes.
Oh my god. No, at least Peeta...
Boy with the bread?
At least Peeta was introduced in, like, book 1. You know what I mean?
But like, she's giving me Baker Boy vibes.
Oh, and I also
Because
said...
that's all that she's been reduced to. She is being reduced to the baker's girl.
Yeah, but, like, it's like, oh, she rose up in the ranks and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, okay, I don't care.
So
I
did
still don't
Peeta.
care.
He rose up in the Starving Games and he built a 4-tiered pink
bakery
pink bakery cake.
So the Coggin is like, I'm not going to help you because me and my wife are still grieving our daughter Tumaloon. And
Tumaloo.
I wrote about this. I said, bro, this whole mystery about the dead princess isn't even fun because we literally know nothing about these people or this new country that we're in, and I have nothing to go off of. So I'm just waiting for a reveal I know won't be satisfying because once again, there's no possible way for me to guess. Like, the only thing I can possibly know as a reader is it's the Volg, and that's boring. Like, that's not a good mystery. Okay, it's the Volg. Guess what? It turns out to be the fucking Volg. Like, she's trying to set it up.
What?
You'll see. I'll talk more about it.
I'm being sarcastic.
It's actually more than that, but it's still a really unsatisfying, stupid reveal, and ultimately, like, the answer is the fucking Volg, which literally from the beginning of the book, Chaol's basically like, yeah, it was probably the Volg. Like,
I remember that part.
Why wouldn't it be the fucking Volg?
I remember, like, you know, like, I remember some, like, big cut. I remember the Volg were involved.
And then
The Volg were involved.
So, anyway, I said, it says, Irene studies ancient books in a desolate part of the library and finds out about the Volg. She feels like she's being watched, and when she's almost back to the main area, she finds that someone has been murdered. So another healer is found murdered. It's very first...
Oh my gosh, it's like the Crown of Midnight.
It's very second book where, like, people are being found murdered in the hallways, and the girl looks
Is there also an obsidian tower?
No, but the girl who's been murdered looks like Irene, so we're meant to assume that, like, the person who was doing the murdering was trying to kill Irene.
But why would they want to kill Irene?
That's the thing. It makes no sense. Wait till we get to the reveal. I have so much to say about that. So, Irene...
Because she has the best test scores?
No. You'll see.
Did she write her answers on an eraser?
No, you'll see. It makes no sense. So,
Okay.
Irene is late the next morning. So, Chaol begins working through some exercises on his own. And she looks terrible because she was up last night, like, afraid that somebody
out.
was trying to kill her.
Because they were.
And she tells Chaol what happened, and basically Chaol right away, like, clocks that it's probably a Volg that tried to kill her, although we don't know why.
Like, did they describe the body? Because remember, the Volg will leave, like, a husk of a person.
It's like very... I don't remember how... But essentially, it's like, okay, it's probably the Volg. Especially because what Irene is researching is how to, like, heal wounds that were inflicted by Volgs. You know what I mean? So, like, Chaol's injury, like we said, stupidly is completely, like, black magic Volg based. So her doing all this, like, research, which is in a library where, like, it's like, oh yeah, Irene doing research. Why don't they just burn the books? Like, if you know that there's books in this library that she's supposed to be reading about information she shouldn't have, why don't you burn the books?
Just kill the person who's checking out the library books instead of the library books that, like, could be read by anyone.
The library books are just there. and they're clearly public knowledge. And
It's like they go over to the librarian's desk and they kill anyone who checked out the books. They're like, instead of
getting rid of the books.
Excuse you could have done something a lot easier to begin with that involved no murders.
Yeah, whatever. That's their hunch, is basically like, because she's doing research to help Chaol, that the Volg want to kill her. Because she clocks that the Volg are a thing. How? I don't know. But she does, and she talks to Chaol about it at some point. And so Chaol basically apologizes because he thinks that he's the reason the Volg are in Antica, which,
you
LOL.
Fucking asshole. You think that
so
everything's about
self-absorbed.
you.
Because, yeah, exactly. Because literally when the reveal comes, it's not at all because of him.
It's also just like, that's just so pretentious to think. Did he forget that the Volg want to take over the world and not just like Chaol's home?
Yeah, and fucking surprise, surprise, because they try to kill Irene. They think the Volg try to kill Irene, which they still don't have proof of, but they think that it's definitely the Volg. And then they're like, "Do you think like the Volg could have killed Tumaloon?" And you're like,
yes.
Yeah, I thought it was
That's
the Volg.
pretty much what definitely happened.
Yeah, I literally thought it was a Volg the second you showed up. Because duh. But Chaol's like, he wants Irene to be more careful, so it shows that he's caring about her more. And I just wanted to say, I put in my notes, again, this is Sarah J. Maas repeating her own tropes. I said, this is the second time this woman has decided to give a main character a random soulmate who was never set up before in this standalone adventure. So we have to sit through chapters of boring romantic setups.
Who do you see the first one as?
Rowan and Aelin. This is the second time she's put one of our main characters in another continent by themselves with a love interest who teaches them shit.
Well, they don't become love interests until arguably Queen of Shadows.
Oh, please. I mean, it's clearly set up as like a thing.
Yeah, but they don't become love interests until Queen of Shadows.
All I'm saying is this is the second fucking time that this woman has put a main character in a situation where they're alone and meet someone who, like...
He's not alone. He has Nezrin.
She doesn't fucking count because they're literally never together the whole book. We'll talk about it. So, anyway, yeah, so I said this boring romantic setup, so it doesn't seem like this relationship is coming out of nowhere. And I said, you're cramming multiple books worth of romance into one book, is basically what she's doing.
That seems to be her MO, like how Lysandra and Adian just turned romantic at the turn of a die.
This was a funny quote. I said, he says in the book that his story wasn't, like Chaol says this, that his story was, quote, not worth telling, not a single part. And I said, LOL, I agree.
I think that the part about the Volg is worth telling.
Yeah, well, that is, definitely. But I said this reads like a romance novel or like a zombie fic. You know, like a zombie fan fiction, like one that's like narratively concluded but just keeps going for no reason.
Kinda, yeah.
That's what it felt like. But anyway, okay, so we're back to Nezrin. Fucking Nezrin. Oh, wait.
Oh, fucking Nezrin.
Not yet, sorry. Irene is late the next morning because she's freaked out. And Chaol begins working with her on some exercises of her own because she asks him to help her teach... she asks him to help him teach her self-defense.
While he's bound to a chair?
Yeah.
And he's like, and then you kick him. Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
You can't do that.
Like, literally, it's so dumb. And I'm like, all right. Because we got to have another, like,
training montage?
Training montage, self-defense class.
We have to have another strong female character learn how to defend herself, so therefore she becomes more self-dependent.
Self-sufficient.
Self-sufficient.
I'm like, okay, was this needed? Not really.
No, it's not really. It is... No.
And I guess it's like a reference to the fact that, you know, when she met Aelin, she told her to, like, you know, take care of herself and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like...
But, like...
Okay, because violence is the only way for women to do that.
Apparently.
Yeah, so anyway...
And apparently the only way for women to heal in Sarah J. Maas's eyes is for them to fight or learn self-defense.
Oh, and this was super important, because this is the kind of detail she thinks is important to include in these books, that Chaol has a special contraption that he can use to ride horses.
Oh.
Sick!
Is it like the fake leg in the Princess Diaries?
Yeah, that's what I was imagining in my head.
Really?
Yeah, for real.
Oh my god.
Literally what I was imagining.
Or like Game of Thrones, how Bran has
yeah,
his.
the Bran's like saddle, like that he can't, like, yeah, basically.
Oh my gosh.
So whatever. And
Look at us go.
Again, so unimportant and added nothing. Oh, so this is what I'm talking about. It says, Irene thinks she needs to push the magic down, quote unquote, and repair the injury for Kaol to be healed. What does that even mean? It says it's torture, but he's willing to endure it to be healed.
Push it?
Yes.
Push it real good.
Yep.
Push it real
And
good.
Irene has this suspicion that this darkness, this dark magic that's like, you know, affecting him this way has something to do with his psyche, at least in part. I don't know why she believes this, or
Dumbass.
where this comes from, or how that's possible. Because a fucking castle fell on him. But, sure.
But that's not why he can't walk.
It's his psyche. Right.
Not the magic that was blasted into his back.
And he is like, you know, a big macho man. So he's like, I don't believe in therapy. And he doesn't want to talk about his problems with her. And she's like, okay, well, you know, I can't really help you.
Machismo.
I'll do what I can, but I think you need to talk about your feelings. So now we're back to Nesrin.
Speaking of talking about our feelings,
Yes.
my therapist listened to this.
Did she? What'd she think?
She said there's a reason why you're in therapy.
Nice.
Hey.
Good for her.
Sorry, I thought that was funny.
That is really
Shout out
funny.
to my therapist. You know who you
Hey,
are.
girl, hey, what's up? I'm sure Ronnie talks about me. So Nesrin is up early one morning, and of course she's hanging out with Sartak, because that's all Nesrin does in this book. And so Sartak and the people in Antica have these, like, creatures that they're, like, basically, like, bird creatures. I thought at first they were like wyverns, and I got really mad. But they're not
like
wyverns.
birds.
They're basically giant birds that these people ride. And Sartak,
Oh my gosh, they're like
the eagles.
no. Oh, I forgot what they're called. They're from Legends of Zelda.
Griffins.
No, there's a special fuck. It's from a Skyward Sword.
Whatever. They're flying birds. I don't know.
Yeah, they're flying birds.
They're big giant birds. I pictured a griffin, so that's what I'm gonna say, pretty much.
Loftwing. Sorry. It's called a loftwing.
But Sartak, it's so special because he has a special one. His bird is named Kadara, and
like Katara with a D.
yeah, Kadara, like Katara, but Kadara.
What the? Did she just like roll a random AI generated?
I don't know.
Like...
She's so bad with names, you guys. I hate pretty much every character's name in her books for the most part.
Caution and Kadara.
Yeah, Caution. Add it to the list of shit that sounds the same, because we had a running list for a while.
And Kadara and Aelin 80 and Aelin.
Want me to read the list again? Because I fucking will. I still have it. Hold on. Shit that sounds the same in these books. Dorian, Dorinel, Galen, Aelin, Evelyn, Adian, Arabin, Aniel, Selena, Elena, Orlin, Otterlin, Rowan, Ro, Gavin, Gavriel, Orinth, Orlon. I can keep going, clearly.
Wow. This woman.
I kept track because I'm telling you, what the fuck? So anyway, it's very special because
I'm sure.
Sartak lets Nesrin ride Kadara with him, and she loves it.
Oh.
And it's very much like, I can show you the world.
It's a euphemism.
They're riding, they're bird beasts.
They're laughing on their loft wing.
And Sartak talks to Nesrin about his siblings and what will happen when an heir is chosen and how much he loves and worries about all of them, which doesn't really make sense. And also I don't really care because I don't really know these people and I don't really care about the stakes of this country because there's a lot more big shit happening in the country I was last in. But sure, let's hear about Sartak's relationship to his siblings.
That's the problem with introducing a whole other continent in the 6th book is that we just want to get back to seeing what's going on in the main continent with our main people.
Yeah, like, I barely give a fuck about Nezrin, and I really don't give a fuck about Sartak or his siblings, because...
Or his
why
bird.
would I? Or his stupid bird, quite frankly.
Kadara.
So, anyway, we're back to Irene and Kaol, and they're exhausted from their first magical healing session, which we still don't fully understand how it works. But she didn't have much luck in her first go. When she, for some reason, although this never happens again, saw visions from Kaol's past, and she hears words like Morath, and she's like, ooh, what's that about?
Morath, Murtaugh.
Yeah, Morath, Murta. What's the
That's
other one?
from Outlander.
There's a character named Murta, though, in, like, the first book.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
Something like that.
One of the assassins.
Yeah, one of the assassins is named, like, Murta. I don't know. Whatever.
Anyway.
Cain, Kaol, whatever. There's so many people whose names sound the fucking same. So anyway, she sees these visions of the past, very much like Harry Potter, Snape, like, you know what I mean? Like, it's very much like that. Like, when he counter, like, you know what I'm talking about?
Legilimens.
Yeah, something like that.
Oculimens.
Yeah, so, okay. And again, never does this happen again in one of their healing sessions, but it happens this time. And Kaol's still not, like, willing to tell her everything. Nezrin goes into the city to investigate how a Volg demon got into the Torre. Because they're still on this theory that the Volg were in the Torre and they killed Tumaloon and they're the ones trying to kill Irene.
Because that's what happened.
So once again, Kaol is doing fucking nothing, and even though he's got his own book this time around, Nezrin is the one doing 90% of the work to figure out what the fuck's going on.
Because what he is doing is developing a character for the first time ever, which is taking a lot of effort and energy on him.
Well, not even really developing a character. What he's doing is getting a girlfriend, which takes a lot of time and energy.
A lot more effort and energy, because
yeah.
whoever thought that he would be able to get...
She knocks some shit over. Just ignore that.
It takes a lot more effort and energy, because who the hell would think that he could get that?
Yeah. So yeah, what he's doing is getting a girlfriend, which does take a lot more time, especially when you were working with the guy who's responsible for the death of her whole family. I just want to reiterate that. So Nezrin's doing all the work, and she's going into the city. I don't know what she thinks she's going to find in the city, but she investigates in the city, and of course Sartak comes along. Or rather, they run into each other, which feels like a weird coincidence, especially for a prince.
They didn't run into each other. That's
yeah,
bullshit.
They run into each other, and they start looking around the city together, and I love the synopsis because it says, but they find nothing, and I'm like, yeah, no shit, what did you think you were going to find?
I'm pretty sure her snap map was on, and he just followed her there.
Right, real. So, again, Irene oversleeps the next morning, which, by the way, this is the third time she's late or, like, oversleeps for her session with Kaol.
Because she actually doesn't care about it.
Yeah, no, it's not even that. It's literally just a weird, like, quirk of the character, I suppose.
That she's chronically late?
Yeah.
That should get her fired.
I don't know.
Yeah, she's
the
really...
The first time, it's because she has a reason for being late. Or the second time, rather. But the other two times... No. It's just like a weird... Okay.
I would get fired so quick.
But Kaol doesn't wait for her, and he's mounted his horse, and he's hanging out with the guards, and they ride around the Torre, which was just as boring to read about as it is for me to say. Kaol loves being on a horse again and seeing the city, and I'm like, okay.
All right, sir.
Cool. That added what?
Nothing.
Literally nothing. And it says a crowd of girls have gathered in front of the Torre for their lesson. Oh yeah, because they get like a lesson like together for him to teach these girls self-defense. Legless man is teaching these girls.
He's like demonstrating.
Yeah.
Hoya, hoya, hoya. Only moving his upper body. And then he's like, and then you want to knee him in the balls like this. Like this.
He's teaching them self-defense, and the only point of this scene is to show us that Kaol's still sexy, like that all these girls show up for their self-defense class because they just want to see Kaol. And I'm like, oh my god. I don't know what hard-on Sarah J. Maas has for Kaol, because she really does. There's a lot of
She
stuff.
has a hard-on for training montages in self-defense is what she has a hard-on for, too.
That's also true. And Irene tells the girls, there are other girls who work at the Torre. They're also healers. So, and she is using Kaol as like an example because he's injured, and he gets really pissed about this. He's like, "What are you displaying me?" Like his his like masculinity is so hit, and I'm like, "Girl, get it together." She's a healer. She's showing other healers what she's doing to heal you.
I don't want to be your fucking textbook.
Yeah, literally. It's literally what he does. And she's like, "I don't know why you're mad, bro," but she ends up apologizing anyway, which fucking got me because she has no reason to be sorry.
You're such a little puss.
Yeah, and it's so stupid. I said I do ship Irene with K.O. eventually in this book because the whole book is basically dedicated to wanting you to ship this relationship, but I still feel like it's like, unsatisfying in the long run just because it was introduced so late. But at this point, I just resigned myself to my fate and was like, if I'm going to have to listen to this garbage, I might as well try to enjoy it because I love romance. So I was like, all right, whatever.
I guess this is a full romance now.
Yeah, I guess it is. That's literally how this book reads.
With Vogue. Mm-hmm. And death.
Again, K.O. does nothing. I want to emphasize this. K.O. does nothing this whole book.
I can tell. He's not doing shit except teaching girls self-defense from inside of a chair.
Like, he doesn't learn anything.
He learns to keep
useful.
doing him.
Yeah. He doesn't learn anything useful. And we'll get there when we get there, because it'll be soon. I'm already, basically halfway through the book. But, I just want to say that the biggest reveal, the most crucial information of not only this book, but basically the whole series, is given to fucking Nesrin.
You fucking kidding me?
No. The biggest piece of information that we learned from this book that has been gnawing away at me for, if you guys have been listening, I've been pointing this out for multiple episodes that I was so angry about that this wasn't explained. It's explained to Nesrin, of all characters, which was infuriating.
We need to sit with that for a second.
Do you?
Yes, we do. I need a snack.
Okay.
And socks.
Okay.
My Tootsies are cold.
All right. We'll be right back.
We'll be back.
All
and
right.
we're back.
We're back. Yeah.
I'm back with yogurt.
Mm-hmm. So, we left off K.O.'s teaching these girls self-defense, which is so funny. And Caution, of course, comes and greets them in the palace courtyard. So he tells Irene that he has to put guards in place at the Torre to try to keep them safe. Because everybody at this point knows that the attack in the Torre was probably meant for Irene, even though this other girl, who remains nameless, got
her name
killed.
Is Nyrene.
Yeah, we don't even know who the fuck she is. All right, fuck her, I guess. So Irene thanks Caution, but cuts the conversation off. Because we don't really even know how Irene feels about her relationship to Caution. It seems like she's hesitant, but into it, but we don't really know, and now it's clearly because she's invested with K.O. and whatever, so...
My cat's in the studio, just so you guys know.
Yeah, he's hanging out. What's up, Tobes? So whatever. So back in his room, Irene finally drags out of K.O. why he's angry, and that's the fact that she put him on display because he starts acting pissy towards her. He says, like I said, fragile masculinity, but they get over it, and Irene...
Literally, what changes about him? Nothing.
Absolutely nothing. K.O. has no character growth whatsoever. All that happens in this book to K.O. is he gets a fucking girlfriend. That's literally it. So, get out of here, Toby. So Irene...
He's trying to lick my yogurt.
So Irene starts to work on the black magic in his back again.
Sorry.
Oh, and I lied. So we do see a little bit more memories from K.O.'s past, which is the most painful memory is how his dad abandoned him after, we talked about this in the previous books, that K.O.'s whole damage is that he left his family and he gave up being the heir to his lordship or whatever because he wanted to be captain of the guard for Dorian, which, by the way, again, I want to emphasize, he went out of his way to give up his title so he could be captain of the guard to Dorian's dad. Let's all remember that. Because that's important. That wasn't something he did on accident. That was something he purposefully did.
When he knew what this man was doing.
Yeah, he was like, nope, I want to be captain of the guard. Don't you worry. This is not put upon me at all. So Irene ends up with a bloody nose because of how much she's straining during these quote-unquote sessions with K.O.
Gosh.
Which, again, are laughable because we don't even really understand what the fuck's happening.
Well, she's straining.
Yeah, apparently. And she's sucking the poison out of him like a fucking snake wound. And she sees Morath and its armies, and Chaol's like, no more of this. And apparently she starts to make some progress because Chaol starts to be able to move his toes, which is a huge deal, which not really how spinal injuries work, but okay.
No, but that's how magical spine injuries work.
But sure, he can move his toes. So Nesrin visits her aunt and uncle again, which is another mind-numbingly boring scene. But she tells them that she's worried about the rest of her family, like her father and her siblings, which again, don't give a fuck about because I don't care about Nesrin. And she says to them that there was this attack in the Torre and that she's worried that it's because of her and Chaol that the Volg attacked this girl. And she basically says to her aunt and uncle, like, okay, keep up precautions because you don't know if somebody's going to try to attack you guys because I'm with Chaol. And
my God.
They literally are so not worried. They're like, we'll take precautions, but they're pretty chill. And you'd think that would come back. It does not. Nothing happens to them. They're fine.
That should have.
Nope, doesn't come back at all. It's fine.
Something should have happened to them.
Yeah, nothing happens. Not even, literally anything. So another one of the siblings. So at this point we have Caution, Sartak, Duva, Tumaloon who's dead, and Hasar.
The pregnant one?
No, Duva's the pregnant one. Hasar's another sister. So Sartak and Caution are the brothers. Tumaloon's a dead sister. Duva's the pregnant sister, and Hasar is the bitchy sister. Because we gotta have one of those. She's like Caltane 2.2, like 2.0, before she became all like, word keep possessed. So Hasar, who's the princess, calls Irene, and they basically talk about Chaol and Caution and like the war on the northern continent. And Hasar tries to get information from Irene about Aelin Galathinius, like thinking that maybe like Chaol had talked to Irene about it, which why the fuck would he do that?
He's supposed to be doing PT with her, not therapy.
Especially when he's actually given way more information to Caution, who's her brother, than he's given to Irene. So maybe Hasar, you should go talk to Caution, but she doesn't do that. And she basically
he still hasn't disclosed that Erewhon is back.
No, he still hasn't done that. It's actually nuts. And so Hasar thinks that she starts to put the pieces together, but she thinks that the attack in the Torre was orchestrated by Chaol and Nesrin to like force her family's hand to join them in the war. No, for real. She literally thinks that Hasar literally thinks that Chaol and Nesrin are the reason that attack happened, to try and like force her family's hand to join the war.
Grow the fuck up.
And so Irene obviously doesn't agree with this because Irene at this point kind of knows what's going on, and
Irene knows that was a supernatural being that.
Well, Irene knows about the Volg, I think, at this point in the book. And
that's what I mean. She knows that it was a supernatural being.
Yeah, she puts the pieces together about the Volg being a thing and talks to Chaol about it way before any of these people who are supposed to be in charge of the lives of, like, millions do. So anyway, Hasar basically blackmails Irene and tells her that, unless you spy for me, I'm going to kick you out of Antica, which also never comes back. There's never a reckoning with that. I just want to spoil it right now. So yeah, Irene agrees to be a spy for Hasar, but she never gets in trouble for it, and Chaol never gets mad at her about it. So, yeah. Irene doesn't show up on time the next morning again.
It's almost like this book does not have consequences.
No, it doesn't. I mean...
Yeah, well, when will you learn that your actions have consequences?
Oh, shout out to Sammy, classic Sonic fan.
But the thing is, they never learn that their actions have consequences.
No,
That's
they don't.
Problem.
But here's the thing, I'm not surprised. Like, I've been saying this about Sarah J. Maas's books since I started this series, that, now that I'm, saged and, 7 books in, I expect fucking nothing from her. I expect all her setup to be a huge letdown. And so that's why this book was kind of easy for me to get through, because nothing that she reveals I was upset by, because I was like, well, I kind of expected this to be a huge disappointment. Now, did I expect it to be as bad as it ends up being? No. Which is why I'm here talking about it. But Irene, of course, doesn't show up on time.
Which is why she's here talking about it the day that she finishes it, after she's like, I'm so mad about this.
Yeah, because I was like, I really didn't think it could be this bad. Like, some of the stuff...
I apologize that my cat is, like, deciding that now he's gonna play with a round ball spinny toy that he's actually never played with before this much, ever.
Oh my god, that's so loud.
Rory, this is the longest he's ever played with that toy,
He just
to
wants
my
to,
recollection.
He just wants to be the center of attention.
He is the center of attention.
Come on,
Toby,
Tobes.
calm the fuck down.
So anyway, sorry you guys. So Irene doesn't show up on time the next morning again, 4th time in a row, basically.
Oh my god.
And K.O.'s basically like, fuck her, and he basically mounts his horse and rides around the Torre, which was a super unnecessary scene.
It was just him showing off that he could ride a horse.
Wow, Tobes. Yeah, basically that's what happened. And Hafisa, who remember is Irene's boss, which I wouldn't blame you if you didn't remember that, because there's so many fucking people in this book who are new and we don't know, and it's hard to remember them. But Hafisa is the head healer and she's Irene's boss, and she sees him in the Torre courtyard, and Irene is still in bed because of what happened at their last session. It was just so exhausting for her that she has to sleep in.
So exhausting. And
Hafisa's like, that's all normal. And I'm like, what do you fucking know about that, Hafisa? This is like the first time somebody has healed like evil Volg shit from somebody's spine. Like, shut the fuck up. He just jumped. That was the first time I've seen him do that. So he's possessed, this fucking cat. So anyway, K.O. is already in the courtyard because he's riding his horse and shit. And Irene finally wakes up and talks to him, and she does some exercises with him while he's on the horse, and she checks on a couple of her patients, and they begin K.O.'s session in the palace. Do you see how fucking boring this is?
Yes, I'm like falling asleep having you talk about it.
So boring. Oh, I want to say that I love how in one chapter Irene is like, quote, I don't sleep with patients, and then like literally the next chapter is drooling all over him at this like opium party, which we're almost at. It's crazy. So anyway,
oh my God.
That night Kale and
what
Nezrin...
the fuck is this book?
Yeah, it's so weird. So then Kale
this
and Nezrin...
is really like what race ethnicity is this supposed to like be a parallel to?
I don't know, but they're at like an opium party.
That's what I mean. Opium, I think of like ancient China.
Yeah.
Not even that ancient, honestly.
No. I don't know, but basically, like, they decide not to have a session because she gets into, like, a fight with him because he basically calls her out and says, like, I know you're attracted to me, and she's like, I don't sleep with patients, and rides off. Oh, wait, she gives, not without giving him a tour of the city, because that was exciting to read about, was a tour of the city.
That he's been living in now for such a long amount of time?
Yeah, he's been there for weeks, and she gives him a tour of the city, which... Cool.
All right, sir.
So Kale and Nezrin get invited to this royal party that's basically an opium party. And Hussar, remember the princess?
The opium. To the opium den.
To the opium den. Okay, it's light amount of opium.
From Twisted.
To the opium den, indeed. So Hussar tells Nezrin at the party to make room for Irene. And everyone's like super awkward about this because Hussar's like baiting them because I don't know why, she's just a shit stirrer.
Oh.
Cool. She's just a bitch, Hussar, for no reason. Because we gotta have a mean girl in this story. And Sartak, the brother, asks Nezrin to join them because Sartak's interested in Nezrin, as we've established. Kaol assumes whatever Irene was keeping from him earlier, because she's been, like, harboring some secrets, goes hand in hand with this display by Hussar. So Kaol doesn't, like, fully get... Like, he knows there's a thing between Irene and Caution, but it's, like... I guess he doesn't realize how bad it is, or how, like, intense it is, or how many people know about it.
Okay.
And Kaol and Irene keep their conversation professional, because they know that everybody's listening. But wait, after dinner, everybody starts dancing, and there's...
Under an opium haze?
There's, like, incense laced with opium, and everybody's, like, high off their ass. And Kaol sees Nezrin, which, by the way... Kaol does this basically in front of Nezrin. So he sees Nezrin walk out of view.
He's like, fuck you!
With Sartak. And he sees Caution lean over to invite Irene over. And, like, Kaol's like... I'm a Sarah J. Maas male. I gotta put a stop to this now. She's my kind of girlfriend. So he gets all jelly and he asks Irene to come hang out with him. And they sit on this couch and they speak to each other and they get all horny for each other. Like they start drooling over each other. Like they're talking about political shit. And they're so on top of each other.
They're getting horny for political shit, which
Yeah,
is
like-
my least favorite kind of horniness.
They are like, and it's not even like suggestive, like, oh, they looked into each other's eyes. Like, it's like, no, they're like touching each other, and like, she's practically panting after him at this point, and it's like, oh, come on. And Irene tells Kale that she needs some small thing to take to Hisar. Oh, yeah, so she comes clean to Kale about Hisar blackmailing her, which I actually kind of liked, in fairness to the book.
Oh my gosh, it's almost like a female love interest can tell the truth about things all the time.
Yeah, and
Aelin.
I know, right? And she's basically like, can you tell me one thing about Aelin so I can tell Hisar so she gets off my back? And Kale has to act like he's entranced and willing to give her intel, like, which we all know he is, though.
Yeah, like, we know you're whipped. Ugh.
And it says in here, it's hard to tell for them what's real and what isn't. And I'm like,
No, it's...
I guess.
I mean, you're just denying
So
the
he tells
truth.
Irene some stupid shit about Skull's Bay, which I don't know why he knows about that.
Yeah. Well, from Assassin's Blade.
I guess. All right.
Yes, no, it's not. I guess it is.
Which
it
is
isn't.
weird because at the beginning of the book he says that like, oh, there's no way Aelin would go to Skull's Bay, and I'm like,
Because she had an issue with Rolf.
I know, but then
bitch.
when he says to her about Skull's Bay, it doesn't make sense. Whatever. Okay, fine. Maybe I'm missing a detail, but
I mean, I didn't read this, so I don't know what he said to her. But he
oh yeah, he says that he doesn't think Aelin would ever go there. That's what he says to Irene.
well, because she had this whole thing with Rolf, the pirate lord.
Yeah, all right, whatever. And Nezrin. So this is so funny because Kale internally this whole book. Every time he starts to be attracted to Irene, and even after they cross the line and like sleep together in this book, like he beats himself up about how guilty he feels about his interest in Irene and how he's like this and he feels so bad about how he's treating Nezrin, and I'm like, you're telling me this like big bad captain of the guard who got crushed by a castle and like the last time we saw him is like too pussy to tell Nezrin how he's actually feeling when they aren't even in a relationship?
Oh my god.
Like, it's so fucking weird. I'm like, they are just fuck buddies. That was made very clear. Why are they acting like they're boyfriend and girlfriend? And what's funny about it is that they're both emotionally cheating on each other.
With the other people in the Pentagon of love.
Like, so why can't y'all just talk about it? Why is this so difficult? You owe each other
Why
absolutely
can't
nothing.
we be lovers?
Like, fuck them
Or
both.
not just friends.
Neither of them owe the other anything because they're literally both emotionally cheating on each other. So fuck them both. Like, I don't give a fuck how Nezrin feels about shit because she's cheating on Kale and it's the same. Like, he's totally cheating on... If they're together, they're both cheating. And if they are not together, why can't they talk about it? Why does he feel so fucking guilty? Because it takes up so much word count that Kale feels so bad about how he treated Nezrin. And I'm like, so just fucking talk to her!
You guys literally have the most established relationship of everyone on this island. Like, you to anyone else on the island is not nearly as significant enough as you to yourself. You to the other... You know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, no.
Like, you are your only... These are the only two people in Throne of Glass series. Like, everyone else is new. Mm-hmm. Just fucking talk to each other, you bitches.
Yeah,
that's
for
what
real.
That's what I'm trying to say.
And you guys are supposed to be friends, too. Like, even if you guys have fucked, like, which, again, I already have an issue with because it was unnecessary, but, like, you guys are also supposed to be friends. Like, Nezrin went with you.
Supposed to be friends in air quotes.
Yeah, why can't you just tell Nezrin, like, hey, I feel kind of weird because I'm really attracted to Irene. I don't know if it's gonna go anywhere, but I want you to know that I'm gonna pursue it if it comes up. And Nezrin would be like, that's chill.
Well,
I'm kind of into
well, that would
Sartak.
mean that Kale needs to actually say what he thinks and what he feels, and we already know that he doesn't do that.
Whatever. Okay, so Irene makes it clear that she knows what happened between Nezrin tells Kale she knows that there's like a thing between him and Irene at the party. And they stay up talking about it, allegedly, but then the next morning Irene finds them together in bed just
Ugh.
asleep. And she gets all, like, flustered about this. Which, remember, literally a chapter ago, she was like, I don't sleep with patients. And then she's all, like... she's all, like, flustered about...
He's sleeping with someone else.
The fact that he's sleeping with the person he showed up with when you met him and everyone knew they were sleeping together and you're upset about that.
He's
but
sleeping
okay.
with the person everyone thought he was sleeping with. Holy shit!
And I told him I don't sleep with patients and whatever, okay.
But I wanted to sleep with him.
But she's actually kind of relieved because she's like, oh, cool, I'm not attracted to my patient. Sick. And Kael's attention snags on a new scroll she's brought because word marks are on it. Where did she get this scroll and why does it have word mark? No. Where did she get the scroll? Why does it have word marks on it? Why does the person who have it know what word marks are? Why isn't it somewhere more special? Why is
it's
it
never answered.
Nope, we don't know. It's just in the library.
Are you serious?
Presumably it's just in the library.
Is it an old library?
I guess.
Okay.
But... Okay, and Kael makes a huge deal out of this because he tells her to hide it immediately because it's, a fucking word mark page book thing.
Speaking of pages.
Yes.
I gotta pee.
Okay.
That doesn't have anything to do with pages, but I was trying to find a better segue.
Okay, you can go pee. We'll be right back. Okay, but Alright, we're back. Sorry, I'm so excited. The most important thing, though, that she learns in the library, which is so stupid, conveniently, she learns that not only is Erewhon, like, king of the Volg, but there are two other kings of the Volg.
Oh, yeah.
Orcus and Mantix.
I forgot this is where you learn it. I know that, but, I forgot this is where you learn it.
Which, okay. Cool. Nobody else knew this for some reason.
There's another important Volg that you'll find out about.
Yeah, right. Convenient that information was only in this library, but okay. And they were defeated.
The implication is it was destroyed in the other libraries.
I guess
because all the magic articles and scrolls and tomes were supposed to be destroyed.
Okay,
which is why the king had them.
Weird that the ghost of Elena never mentioned this.
Which is why the king had them in a private librry.
Okay, but why didn't the ghost of Elena fucking mention this, or Brandon, when they knew that?
Because we know that they don't help us with jack shit. What kind of a fucking question is that? We know the answer.
You think they would have mentioned that?
Why didn't Elena mention in the beginning that her best friend was gonna die?
There's so many things Elena could have mentioned. Anyway, so Irene asks Kael about his scars. They have this whole bonding moment because he won't tell her about the scar that Aelin gave him after what happened with Nehemia because he's got that scar on his face when she tried to kill him. And they do another session. And what's important about this session is that the memory that she sees is, again, Kael and his father's relationship. And how he was thrown out of the house.
It's like she's unlocking his trauma chakras.
Yeah, basically, I guess. And then at the end of the session, what's important is that Kael starts to be able to move his foot.
Oh my god. So we're working up from the bottom?
Yeah, I guess. Okay. And so then they bond. And then Sartak and Nezrin... Sartak finds Nezrin with Kadara because she's really interested in Kadara and the flying beastie bird things.
Why?
And he asks her to accompany him when he goes to visit his people, apparently, and that they'll be gone for a few weeks. And Nezrin, feeling already kind of like a third wheel that's being, pushed out of the bunch between, Kael and Irene, is like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm going to go with Sartak, and they're going to go fly their little bird thing and go hang out with other people who fly their bird
I like
things.
How you're giving peace signs right now.
Yeah, they go hang out with people who like their bird things. So she basically writes Kael a note saying, yeah, fuck off. I'm going to be gone for a few weeks. See ya. And she runs off with Sartak on his bird.
Go her.
And Irene and Kael do more research in the Torre library, which is so boring. And they eat dinner together afterwards, and he stays the night in a room in the Torre instead of in his actual room. So he's creeping closer to Irene's room. It's boring, and I didn't enjoy it. And Irene has a meeting with Hafisa the next morning. So Kael travels back to the palace with Aretia. Don't know why that's relevant. He sees the note from Nezrin and he is super mad about it, but he's also really guilty because he knows that she's probably being that she left for exactly the reason I mentioned, that she feels like a third wheel.
Because she is.
Because she totally is, and he didn't talk to her about it like a big puss.
Because he never talks about anything ever, which is why Nehemia died.
Yeah, pretty much. So, Sartak and Nezrin set up camp after flying far from Antica. They talk about with each other about stuff, which was really boring because I don't care about either of them. So I just kind of like my eyes glazed over during that conversation. So we're just not going to talk about it. Irene is confused when Kael's in a bad mood during their next session because she doesn't know about this thing with Nezrin yet.
And when she finds out, she's probably like, oh, yeah, he's mad about his girly friend.
I don't... yeah, basically, yeah, wait. So she tries to get the reason out of him, and she learns from Hisar, not him, that Nezrin left with Sartak.
Because, again, Kael can't open his fucking mouth and express his feelings about anything. So what is that telling us about his character development?
Bro, I hate
that
this
there
man.
is none.
I can't stand Kael. He is the worst.
He just doesn't have a strong personality.
No, he's literally the worst. And that evening, Irene goes back to see Kael, and she feels something following her again. So then they barricade Kael's door, and the creature pounds on it. So the Vogue fully comes out and is like, Irene, and like comes after her and is trying to kill her.
Let me eat your fears. Let me eat your nightmares.
But of course, like, Prince Caution conveniently shows up because Irene sent for him, apparently, conveniently. And he orders more guards to be stationed throughout the palace to protect her. And she decides to stay in the room with Kael because she feels safer with Kael, which is supposed to be like this whole big symbolic moment. And I'm like,
okay.
Great
question mark.
And even he's kind of like, I don't have fucking legs, right? And she's like, I don't care.
She's like, yeah, but you taught us self-defense.
Yeah,
but you taught us self-defense.
And this is the reason why it's important is because Caution sort of realizes, oh, I've lost her a little bit,
to the legless man.
Yeah, which again was so useless. Like, why? Just why? I don't get why her relationship to Caution even needed to be there. He could have just owed her a favor. They could have been friends. He could have just known her from childhood because
he could have just wanted to pork her.
Like,
not like wanted to be in a relationship with her.
Yeah, like I don't know. But she can't do that because then that would make him predatory, and God forbid any character that she creates who's useful to the plot is a questionable person in any way.
But we already discussed the morality of this like whole vague lineage and succession line like causing some serious issues.
Well, that's even a separate issue. It's like that she is...
But I mean, like, if you're gonna play like hard and fast loose with one rule, you might as well play like hard and fast with a few other associated rules.
But she is pathologically like allergic to having characters who provide useful action or information to the plot being anything but morally justified in her eyes. Like, I would disagree. I firmly believe that she thinks that the actions her characters take are the right ones. And we are meant to think that. Like, me thinking that Aelin and disagreeing with Aelin's actions is not Sarah J. Maas's intention. Like, I don't believe that because she is incapable of killing off characters. She's clearly attached to them. Not a single character who...
She talks about them like they're her friends.
Like, she can't kill off anyone, no matter how insignificant they are, unless it's like Nehemia. Like, that's the only character in this whole series who gets fucking killed off, and it's for a purpose, and she did it nobly, and it was of her own making. It
wasn't like a meaning...
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, it's just... And then on top of that, none of these characters can be morally dubious in any regard. Like, Caution could still be the same character and have a little bit more of a sexual predatory interest in Irene, because why wouldn't he? He's a fucking prince. That's how asshole rich people, titled people behave. They would see a servant as an object that they can use for their own gratification, and that's just a consequence of how he was brought up and of his own privilege. Why can't he still be useful to the plot and also have that flaw? No, he's got to, of course, be this, noble prince, and we're meant to care if she ends up with Caution or Kael, and it's like, I don't fucking care about the emotional investment that this random prince in this one book has in this other character I don't care about. You know what I'm saying?
Honestly, we've been trained to not care about Kael.
You think so?
I think so.
Why do you say that?
Why do you think I say that? It's because every lens we've been presented with from him is a bad one. Like, he was the grouchy one. He was the one who wanted her to be Selena. He was the one who agreed with her choices to, like, follow the king's orders and actually assassinate. He was the one who had, like, let Nehemia get killed. He was the one who supported the king even though he knew that his actions were morally gray, or he knew they were more than morally gray. He was just doing it because the monarchy told him. He, like you said earlier, he was the one who gave up his title where he could have made meaningful change in his homeland in order to be captain of a guard of a king that he didn't supposedly like. Like, we've been trained to not like him. He's been trained to be a dubious character where his intentions are never true. So I'm just having a hard time believing that anything's changing now. I still don't like him.
Yeah. That's a good point, Ronnie. So anyway.
Thank you.
No, that was great. You're totally right. But anyway, so...
Oh, I feel so praised by the literature person.
Oh, please. I say stupid shit on this whole podcast. But
Stupid
anyway.
shit as in, like, praising me?
Oh, no, not that. I mean, like, don't, like, think my opinion means anything. We're just... No, I didn't mean like that. So...
It's okay.
Anyway, so they get attacked by this creature. She decides to stay with Kale, and they sleep together. But just sleep. They don't have sex.
They don't
sleep in the same bed.
Even though his third leg works perfectly fine, as he's told us many, 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 many times.
Oh, of course. So Kale wants to see how the Antican soldiers' training is different, and so he goes to watch the training, which wasn't boring at all. And Nezrin and Sartak are kind of on their, like, own little adventure. And so Nezrin learns about the different Rukin clans and the rivalries between them.
Oh my god. Not another socio...
Yeah, like, I didn't give a fuck. Like, this was so boring. I just literally my eyes glossed over it, so I'm not even going to explain it because I don't care.
In the sky.
I just want you guys to know anything I don't explain literally wasn't relevant to the plot in any way. It's just it's just more world building.
It's more fluff.
It's more fluff. It's more unnecessary world building. So I'm not even going to talk about it. So she learns this information. I thought it was boring. I didn't really understand it, and I didn't really care. So Sartak asks her not to refer to him as royalty among the clans because he's like one of the boys. And she's like, okay. And so they arrive at the mountain home of Sartak's quote-unquote clan. It's other people who ride these bird things, basically. And Nezrin meets this person named Borte, who is like his hearth sister, which is like a symbolic sister in this clan. Okay. And she's just another sassy female character who has like no real personality apart from being sassy.
And remind me, we're being introduced to this whole new system.
Yes.
This whole new culture.
Yes.
Within a book that's aside from our main book. How far into this book?
Quite a ways.
So why? Like, I'm just wondering, like, what is the...
It does nothing. It serves like, no purpose.
If it was earlier in the book and then it came into why, like, the
it's to make you give a fuck about Nezrin and Sartak's romance.
But, like, if it was evident if it was involved in the princess's death, like, sure, I see a reason. Like, if she was involved with one of the clans and then there was a clan war and she was caught in the middle, like...
Nope.
Fabulous. But...
Nothing of the sort, Veronica. And so Nezrin impresses Borte with her archery skills, and that was boring and superfluous.
So we're literally just like 3/4 of the way into this book learning about a new clan.
Yeah.
Why?
No reason. For real. Anyway, Sartak introduces Nezrin to another character, Hulan, the clan's hearth mother, and Borte's grandmother, and all of that was really boring. Oh, and another merchant. Oh, so this is important, actually. There's a merchant that she meets there called Falcon, which was very confusing because it sounds like Falcon in the audiobook, and Falcon is also a shapeshifter.
Does he shapeshift into a falcon?
No, I don't know. But when there's when they're riding bird creatures and you have a character named Falcon that is also a shapeshifter, you best believe driving and listening to that got really
You thought
confusing.
that you were referring to a falcon.
Yes, it got very confusing. And also, love that he's a shapeshifter when explicitly Lysandra being a shapeshifter was a huge deal because nobody is allegedly a shapeshifter. And it's talked about later that Lysandra might be his niece, but we don't know yet because that hasn't been revealed. So, because of course, he can't just be a character, he has to also be related to someone.
I don't know if you guys heard, but I just hit my head on my mic intentionally because I am... That's just so fucking stupid.
Yes! I've been saying this! She is stupid! Her story is stupid!
Her family ties are insane.
Yeah, and apparently his fortune, he's been trying to find his lost niece for like decades.
No.
And he wants to find her because his fortune will go to her. So
No!
yeah, and it's pretty implied it's Lysandra.
No!
Yeah.
When her whole thing was being a street urchin?
Yeah.
So literally the fact that she brought herself up from nothing is going to be worth nothing.
Yeah. Pretty
the
much.
fact that she lived in poverty with her mother who rejected her in her shapeshifter status. So her mother's brother.
Yes. Or something like that. But her uncle.
Her uncle.
I forget how he's related because I didn't care enough, but yeah.
Her uncle.
Yes.
So does that mean that it's like a child or like a niece now of her or nephew of hers that could have like shapeshifter? This has serious implications.
I don't know.
Where's my Punnett squares?
So anyway, what's important though is that Falcon shows up because he does some shapeshifting and it becomes important in the plot. And that Sartak's like, I need to talk to you in private. And she basically says that he needs to wait a second because she feels this ancient evil stirring in the mountains. I don't know why she feels that because Nesrin's not magic, but okay.
Because she got the island vibes.
I guess. And she basically believes that this evil is something called a Stygian spider. Which, for those of you who like Greek mythology, Stygian refers to, like, the Stygian witches who Perseus meets in the Perseus
We've already
legend.
met the Stygian witches.
Yeah.
And the Stygian spiders. Do you remember this?
No, I don't. Oh,
Manon with the
Manon, which
Braxis's
she tries
wings.
to get the silk
So those
to
super
fix
rare...
Abraxas's wing.
No, Rory. So now those super rare Stygian spiders that were Manon found that were in Aurelia, now there's another set of them that are super rare.
It gets worse, honey. Believe me. So, hold on.
I don't know if I can handle this.
Tell me when you get 2 done and we'll take a break. But, like, Nesrin believes the spiders were a myth, which, you know me, I'm a Tolkien girly. I love talking spiders, okay? So I was actually kind of excited for some evil talking spiders.
What do they do?
But the way she does them is really stupid, and it's relevant.
She does them stupid before the first time. What happens?
We'll talk about it when we get to the big reveal.
Oh my God.
Which I have a lot to say. So we'll probably save that for the end. But they're very important, actually, to the plot. Which
the
is
Stygian spiders are...
Yes, they are. They're really important to the plot. They're really important.
Where's a sledgehammer?
Imagine how it felt reading this.
I want Kale to teach me self-defense so I can defend myself from myself right now because I'm kind of worried about what I could do.
So one of the dudes in this clan dismisses Falcon and Nesrin, and like she asks if the Coggin knows about this like evil and the spiders, and like Sartak's like, oh, he's too wrapped up in like grieving over Tumaloon to like care about this, and so, which feels like a lazy excuse, but for the author at least. And I'm like, okay, whatever. So she's like, maybe we should look into that. Because that feels important. Toby's playing with a toy.
He's making a lot of noise.
Okay, so there's a storm that night, and Hulan...
Honey, you got a big storm coming.
So Hulan, who's one of these clan leaders, is also the, quote, story keeper, and he tells the story about how this rip occurred in the world long ago that let nefarious creatures in, which is basically, again, a fucking retelling of information we already know, that clearly the Volg, or the three Volg kings, made the word keys to open up this portal from their hellish world to this world, and it's like, why was this necessary to tell us this, like...
We've heard this 5 different times from 6 different people.
Yes, and also, because it's been confirmed 5 different times by 6 different people, she cannot back out of it, and I have so many things to say about it later. So nobody can fucking sit here and tell me, no, I heard it 5 times. I have things to say. But we'll get there, because it's relevant to the big reveal at the end with the spiders, and the magic, and the whatever, and Nesrin. So... we're getting there. But Kaol and Irene head back to the Torre library again to know how these books and scrolls ended up there, which, yeah, fucking good question. And the head librarian, Nusha, because we gotta have another person whose name I have to remember, has no clue.
They introduce a new librarian this far into the book?
Yeah, the librarian's name is Nusha.
They should have introduced her when when Irene was almost killed the first time.
That's probably true. But whatever.
But they didn't.
Nusha is the librarian, and they're like, hey, Nusha, so how did these, like, word scrolls and, like, books about the Volk and shit end up in this library? And Nusha's like, I don't know. That's the answer.
It might have been magic.
And she basically says that if they want more information, they should look for info in the desert caves in the Askara or whatever, Aksara Oasis. So she basically is like, oh, go on this MacGuffin hunt if you want to find more info. Shut up, Toby.
He's being so loud.
It's okay. But
evil man.
And apparently this oasis that may or may not have this information is not accessible to the quote-unquote public, and it's a private refuge for the royals. So basically, Irene's only way to get in, apparently according to her, is to ask Hussar, which makes no sense because she's friendly with Caution, so why can't
I was about to say, why can't she use her in with Caution, which is that he wants to bone her?
I don't know, but she says her only way in is to ask Hussar, which really makes no sense to me.
That makes 0 sense.
Maybe somebody else is like went through this book with a fine-tooth comb and like knows whatever contrived reason she can't ask Caution.
I don't know, obviously. I didn't read this far.
But I don't know, even listening to it, I was like, what? So, whatever. And Irene asks Kaol because they're getting closer, if they can have dinner together.
Oh, ew.
And they basically go on a date in town. Like, it's really silly. Like, they go out for dinner and have, like, a date in the town.
Fuck them.
In the city.
And she's, like, pushing him along, and she's like, did you do your exercises, honey?
Yeah. And it says here, Kaol feels lighter afterwards. Like, there's something that's been on his chest his whole life that finally lifted.
Oh my gosh.
Because she took him out for some a shrimp cocktail.
Rory,
what?
Why is it that food gets to his heart every time?
I don't know. Like, it's so lame.
He is such a man.
So, okay, they go on this date in the city, and it's really lame, and it was a waste of time. And then Nesrin and Sartak fly to the watchtower to look for the spiders, because they're trying to... It's never really made clear why they make this decision. Like, yeah, we gotta go look at the spiders. Like...
Because Nesrin could tell something was up with him.
I guess so. So they're like, okay, let's go hunt for these evil spiders that are notoriously, like, evil and hard to kill and eat people, but cool. So, they call them the Karen Cull, or the Karen Quee. The Karen Quee, that's what they call them. They call them the Karen Quee, which is so annoying because you could just say the spiders, but she's got to, like, be so up her own ass and use the language she invented.
Yeah.
But not really. Like, she just made up a couple words for this fake language instead of actually making the language. And I'm like, it would get confusing after a while because I'm like, wait, what are the Karen Quee? Because this isn't a real language. And you could just say the spiders.
The speed rays.
The speed rays. So yeah, they're looking for these spiders. And long story short, they, like, enter the tower because they're, like, chasing this chick bird creature.
Did they enter the Tower of Dawn?
No.
This is not working.
They fly to this watchtower, which was a little confusing to me upon reading. And they enter the tower and they realize that it's like a booby trap. And then they make it safely into the dungeon after like eluding the booby trap. And when they finally confront the spiders, like the Karen Kui spiders are bigger than horses. Like they're these huge.
They're the Stygian spiders from book 3.
Yeah, the Stygian spiders from book 3, they're basically like ripoffs of like the spiders in Mirkwood in like The Hobbit.
Gotcha.
They're like these giant fucking spiders, or like the spiders from like Chamber of Secrets, which are ripoffs of the Mirkwood spiders. Like it's like just big spiders that talk. And a giant gray wolf rescues them, which they realize is Falcon, which is like how he reveals to them that he's a shapeshifter. So apparently he was following them this whole time. Which is awfully convenient. Why he wanted to follow them is unclear. Why he felt this investment in their weird quest to go confront these spiders. Okay. So he saves them. He turns into a wolf. He attacks the spiders. Cool. And they're saved. But not for long. So. This is so tiring.
Yeah.
You see how boring this book was?
This is a boring book. It's putting me to sleep.
I'm trying to make it more interesting because stick around for the end, you guys, because literally the end with this big reveal is so important to talk about. You want to take a break?
Yeah, I think I'm done for a little bit.
Okay, so stick around till the end, you guys. We're going to take a little break, and we'll be back to record the rest of the episode.
All right.
But stick around.
Stick around, folks. It's gonna get good, apparently. I wouldn't know because I haven't read it.
Welcome back, everybody.
Welcome back, everybody.
So once again, we had to spill over into the next morning.
Yeah.
Because our eyes were glazing over with how boring this book is.
And it was about 11 o'clock, and that is about 30 minutes past my bedtime. I told you it was 11. I lied. It was 10:30. I really pushed it.
Back in the day, when we were first doing this podcast, we'd push it to like almost 2 a.m. just to finish an episode. And last
Now
night,
I can't.
Yeah, we were just
now
like,
I can't.
It. So now we got some coffee and
Yeah.
we're sober. So hopefully our, which I actually am happy about because when we talk about like some more of the real plot stuff, I'm going to need to
be sober.
Yeah, I'm going to need to have my wits about me. So
I'm ready, Freddie. We left off with the Stygian spiders.
Yes. Oh, something I want to mention, and then we're going to kind of blast through the plot. But before that, there's one thing I forgot to mention last night that I wanted to bring up.
Oh.
Is that Irene and Kale have a conversation about the king, because, like, to morally justify Kale having worked for this man. And they basically say something along the lines of, like, that the king fought against the Volg, which, that he fought against the Volg.
How?
In his body. Yeah, how?
This king?
No, the Dorian's father.
Oh, he kind of did.
But here's the thing, that he fought against the Volg enough, and to protect everyone, he just got rid of all magic. To protect Dorian, and to protect all the magic users.
That is true.
So this is what I wrote.
No, he framed it in a way that it would look like it was supporting the Volg cause, but really he wanted to protect his son.
But it also says in this book explicitly, not just Dorian, that he was protecting the magic users basically from being captured by the Volg by killing them all.
Yes, Dorian was his prime focus, but secondarily he wanted to protect people who also had magic. So he
killed them all.
Well, he didn't kill them all. The Volg creature inside of him did.
No, because it says that he is the one who kept his wits about him long enough to order magic to be destroyed. So he killed everyone.
With the construction of the Obsidian Towers. After the Obsidian Towers were completed, though, he lost his control. The Obsidian Towers are the towers that, vanquished magic, right? Mm-hmm. Remember? So he kept his wits about him and he framed it so that way he could have those obsidian towers constructed and vanquish magic from Aurelia. So, once that happened, that was his final act as a sentient man.
But doesn't that sound like the stupidest shit you've ever heard?
It does.
Because instead of, I don't know, keeping your wits about you long enough to tell all the people who have powerful magic that you're possessed by a demon, you get rid of all their magic, so when the demon inside you grows stronger, nobody's able to fight back. That was your plan?
The problem was that is directly against the Vogue, so even in his mind, he had to frame it so that way it would support the Vogue cause, and that was his efforts to protect them.
And he was clever enough to frame something to make someone build a whole fucking magic preventing tower instead of finding a roundabout way to tell everyone he's possessed.
Yes. It doesn't make sense, but
Come
it makes
on,
sense.
Ronnie.
It makes sense, but it doesn't make sense. It makes sense, but it's not smart. Like, I agree with you. He should have had a different way of doing that if he outsmarted them that much to build these eradicating towers that actually saved his son and all of magic wielders. But the thing is,
Except he didn't say shit because they were all executed.
well, that wasn't him who did that.
Still.
But the thing is, Sarah J. Maas is not smart enough to create a cleverer...
He actively made it worse because by constructing those towers, he got rid of people's magic and then they couldn't fight back when the Vogue came after them.
His intention was to get rid of... His intention was that would be where the Volk ended in the seeking of magic wielders.
Well, he fucked up.
I know he did. I'm not telling you you're wrong. I'm just telling you, like, Sarah J. Maas thinks that she, like, reinvented the hexagon.
Dude, that was the dumbest shit I ever read. I was on the floor, but it gets worse. Okay, so I just had to say that because that was stupid.
And now we're zooming through the plot.
All right. So after we left off with the Stygian spiders, so Falcon, the shapeshifter, who's probably related to Lysandra, turns into a wolf and fights off the spiders. And then he's injured, so he's got to heal his wounds. And when they get back to this camp with the, the bird riding clan, the one character, Hulan, remembers conveniently more stories about the word keys and tells them to Nezrin and Zartak, but it's mostly shit we already know, so I didn't pay attention.
But now Nezrin knows it.
Yes, which why didn't Nezrin know before?
Because Kael's not telling people anything.
Right. There we go. So, again, stupid. But, so they realize that Erewhon must have had two of them, which we already... must have had one or two of them, which we already know.
Yeah.
And she says how now he knows why they want the Kaghan's armies. Oh, yeah. So it's Sartak's basically like, oh, now I understand why you're talking to my father. And you want his
maybe
armies.
you should have told us from the very beginning, because we would have been a lot more easy to actually help you fight a real
Political war.
Geopolitical war.
Our
Geopolitical interdimensional intraspace travel war, mind you, because these Volg are from a different place. Remember, they had the rip and they came through?
Yeah. Well, oh my god, I totally want to help you prevent Armageddon. Like, it's actually amazing how receptive he is to this information.
As soon as you tell him, but you should have told him from the fucking beginning, and then this whole book wouldn't have happened, and then we wouldn't have Irene and Kael have, like, this, like, eye fucking...
Yeah. So dumb. So anyway, we're back to Kael and
I guess
Irene.
in that case it was necessary because Kael needed to be trapped with a woman for long enough for her to develop Stockholm Syndrome and fall in love with him.
Yeah, pretty much.
I'm not wrong.
No, you're not wrong. So Kael's legs are starting to get stronger, and now he has movement up to his knee, which, again...
So he can just...
feels a little silly.
So now he can just engage in, like, the reflex where your doctor comes over and taps your knee and he's like, "Ooh!"
I suppose so. So he can feel up to his knee, which was awfully quick. Okay.
It's like moving quick.
Yeah, he trains with the soldiers in the morning, and then he does his sessions with Irene at night, which we already knew, so I don't know why she needed to reiterate that.
At night.
But he continues to help train the female healers. Okay.
Why is he trying to be Cassian?
I don't know.
Or why is Cassian trying to be him? But
Yeah.
Cassian does it better.
Cassian does do it better, but Cassian's just a better character.
Yeah.
So, this was silly.
Cassian, Kael.
Yeah.
Fucking A.
So the Kaghan returns. They have another nightly dinner, and Hussar, like, makes comments about, like, Kael and Nezrin and how, like, Irene's a little upset because Nezrin's supposed to come back the next day, and then her and yeah,
They were sleeping in the same bed last time, and I really don't like that.
Yeah, basically. So she, at this point, has been spending so much time with Kale that, of course, she's developed feelings for him that she won't admit to.
Fuck her.
And she's upset because Nezrin's coming back the next day, but then Hussar, the sister, makes it known that Nezrin and Sartak are extending their trip another couple weeks, and so the two of them are like thrilled because they want to spend more time together, which fucking poor Nezrin.
Poor Nezrin.
Even though honestly she probably doesn't care, like it's still like, okay, you guys are being really shitty. But
what a
which he acknowledges. He acknowledges he's being shitty, but still, just because you know you're being shitty doesn't mean you're not being shitty, you know?
Yeah.
Doesn't excuse your shittiness. But anyway, the important thing though is that Hussar tells them that the spies know what happened to, or not in detail, but that Dorian and Aelin were captured at Skulls Bay. And Chaol's like, holy shit.
She actually went there? What?
Yeah, he's surprised that she went there at all, and the fact that they're captured. He has a very weird, not a severe enough reaction to this information. He's kind of convinced Aelin this is all part of a plan Aelin has.
Because it is. Because Aelin always has a fucking plan. And I say that not in a good way.
Well, a plan that if it ventured off the plan in even the slightest way, it wouldn't work. Like if somebody had eaten breakfast an hour earlier, it wouldn't have worked.
It usually always ends up with her capture.
So dumb.
I read a thing about this, little segue about her plans. Mm-hmm. The reason why she doesn't tell people about her plans is because the last time she did, Sam died.
Okay, but come on. You can't even tell your fucking mate husband,
She loved Sam. That was her first love.
That's a lame excuse. Especially because at this point she should be developed enough that that's like a damage she overcomes.
It should be, but it's not. It shows you that she's still, in essence...
a stunted character?
Yes.
Which I hate.
She needs some growth hormone in her.
That sucks so hard. But anyway, Chaol's fuming in bed at night because he knows more than anything Hussar doesn't want to leave her comfortable life, and that Argan deals more in power and knowledge than in brute strength, so that's the reason why they don't want to get involved in the war, and they're trying to cause all this trouble in front of the Coggin and saying that Aelin failed and got captured.
No, she didn't. It was part of her fucking plan.
Yeah, but of course Chaol doesn't say that.
So, even though he knows, which is so stupid.
He kind of does. He's like, well, you don't know Aelin the way I know Aelin, and then that's when
I know her sensually.
No, that's when Irene realizes that they fucked. Which, honestly, again, she treats it like, oh, he just had another girlfriend, but I'm like, no, bitch. He fucked Aelin Galathinius.
The queen
of Terrasen and, a fucking fire god. That's hilarious. I like to think, canonically, that Chaol has, a weak dick. The same way, Feyre's, a painter. Everyone, has a headcanon that she's a terrible painter. I like to think that the reason Aelin broke up with him was because he was terrible at sex.
Do you want to know what the name of this podcast is? Am I
what?
The Tower of My Dick.
Nice. It's all just one phallic symbol for Chaol getting his manhood back, I think.
Literally, he towered into Irene Towers.
And it all culminated in an orgasm from Chaol, so...
Which is a dawn of a new life.
Yeah, basically. So, we're so dumb. So, Caution shows up to tell them more information about Captain Rolf and how Rolf ordered a number of fire lances from Antica and just placed another big order. So, Rolf's stocking his army with weapons from Antica, which are apparently fire lances, which... Okay, so that just really tells us that Rolf hasn't given up on Aelin yet, but honestly, it doesn't mean much because Rolf has a vested interest in fighting with Aelin, just like everyone should. But, Sartak, we're back to Sartak, and... Shut up, Toby!
My cat loves being a menace.
The Jingle Bells, man. So, sorry, you guys. But...
I'm not. That's so cute.
We're back to Sartak and Nezrin. And he insists on taking Falcon with them on their next mission because Falcon kind of saved their ass the last time.
Which, again, such a fucking horrible name.
It really is. It's a terrible name for a shapeshifter. It was very confusing.
Lysandra is a better name for a shapeshifter because it means that they're not an animal.
Come on, Tobes.
He's just having a grand old time.
So anyway, they take him, and then 10 days later, he's still not healed, and Nesrin can't imagine going back to her former life, okay? They ask Nesrin to tell stories of her homeland while they're gathered around the hearth, and she sings a couple of songs for them. That was so fucking boring.
I can imagine. It sounds like they're trying to recreate the kumbaya that was in Heir of Fire.
It's just unnecessary. Like, it's
Sir.
stupid.
You mean my cat?
Yeah. My God, Toby. So anyway, oh my God, sorry guys, we got to get through this though.
But like they're really trying to like create that sense of family, like found family, like they did.
Yeah, except I don't care about any of these people.
No, I
because I
don't.
barely know them. So all I know
And
is they
it's
fly
funny-
birds and they know.
And it's
Sartak.
funny that the found family that Aelin made in Heir of Fire, has she mentioned them since?
No,
No.
nobody. They barely talk about Aelin. It's actually really funny. But so anyway,
No, I mean Aelin about the people that she met in Heir of Fire when she was overseas posing as Alentia.
she barely talks about.
Yeah, so how much of a found family are they really if you're not going to acknowledge them?
But so Falcon's finally strong enough to travel again, and so then they visit the watchtowers, or one of the watchtowers, and because they destroyed the other one.
Oh, like the Watchtower of Dawn?
Yeah, I don't actually know what these watchtowers are. If somebody can explain them to me, because I didn't understand what she meant or was referring to when she said the watchtowers. So I was like, okay, I guess that's where the spiders are. I don't know. But on one of their stops, they are confronted by the Burland and their leader Yaren. So they're another clan, and they're searching for 3 ruck hatchlings that went missing. And he and Borte are mouthy to each other. Okay, because they're engaged. It didn't really matter. I didn't really care.
No one does.
We're back with Kaol, and Kaol makes a surprise appearance at the Coggins council meeting, and they get into like a big tiff because it's a whole thing. He asks to double Aelin's order, and they're just talking about money. They're talking to the foreign trade advisor.
So he's trying to help and double her order so that way when it comes back, she's like, huh, more weapons than I thought? I wonder who did this.
I don't even really know. All I know is that my eyes glazed over because it was like him talking to a foreign trade advisor, and the Coggin, it was all like political shit for Aelin, and I didn't care.
My God.
This cat's a menace.
Mala fire.
He wants to show how lucrative the war could be if Aelin continues to buy weapons from Antica. And the Coggin asks the guards to escort Kaol back to his rooms because Kaol calls him out. He gets real mouthy. He's basically like, fuck you, be in this war. Like, which, again, you won't tell him why he's...
Literally, the son knows. So as soon as the son comes back, he's going to be like, hey, Dad, did that Kaol man tell you why that he wants to, like, have you help in this war? And the king is going to be like, no, but he called me an asshole.
Yeah. Man, is the Coggin going to feel like a dick later.
But, like, no, I would be even more mad. I would be even more mad. Like,
Yeah.
you wanted to tell me that I'm an asshole for not giving me a good enough reason to enter into a war that I don't want to be in?
Yeah. It's
You're
like,
calling me an asshole because I want to preserve my country, my state, my lineage, and then you get mad, but you're withholding evidence the entire time that would make me, like, maybe want to help you?
Yeah.
No. Bullshit. Bull fucking shit. Asshole.
Exactly.
I don't like kale.
It's so stupid. So then Kaol's in like a little pissy bitch boy mood when he gets back from his meeting
He's the only one to blame.
with the Coggin, and
then Irene is going to come and do PT, and she's going to, like, PT on this D.
Well, kind of. Well, they get into this huge fight. He says some really mean shit to Irene, and then he, like, regrets it immediately. But then Irene, like, kind of tricks him because she gets hurt at first, but then she, like, is threatening to leave, and because he's, like, so distraught over hurting her feelings, he actually gets up and starts to walk. And
Like,
so she's
like the Tin Man?
Yeah, like the Tin Man, and she's, like, baiting him to, like, like, and so then he starts
She's like,
to walk.
come on, baby,
And then wait, so he falls against the wall, and his arm is like above her head.
Are you fucking
And she's
kidding?
like leaning against the wall, and then he leans his head down on his weak ass legs he hasn't stood on in weeks, and he kisses her.
Oh, you gotta be fucking...
I'm like, boy, look, and I don't mean to be, like, it's not funny that he has, injured legs. I don't mean it, like, to make fun of the legs, but for real, like,
The
when
only
you
reason
haven't
he got out of
walked-
his chair is because he wanted to mac on a girl?
That, and also, he literally, this is the first time he's walked in weeks, and he's got enough strength in his legs to make out with Irene. That seems
That's
like bad for your
not
PT progress.
I think it is. As someone who worked in PT, yes.
So stupid.
Just take it slow, dude.
And they keep having, like, this little liaison. They haven't had sex yet, but basically after that kiss, it's, like, established that this is
It's all downhill from here, folks.
Yeah, it's not platonic anymore. They try to find times to kiss each other and, like, on the ground.
Does she use it as PT? She's like, if you want to kiss me, you gotta walk over here.
No, she never does that again, but...
She should. That would have been good.
That would have been hilarious.
And then at the end, she should have been like, see, I rehabilitated you. You had the strength to overcome the dark magic all along, and all you wanted was this pussy. So, like, you had the energy inside you all along. You're a coward.
Yeah, I also love, though, that K.L.'s motivation and I say love sarcastically, but I love that a book that should have been about K.L.'s personal growth and, like, development as a character because of this life-altering thing that happened to him, like, the thing that gets him through this is
another woman.
A woman. Can you imagine if the roles were
when
reversed?
he's still butthurt that Aelin didn't come back and tell him everything?
Yeah, it's like, this should have been, like, a really important book for K.L.'s, like, character development.
It could have been. It should have been. It would have been if Sarah J. Maas was a better writer.
You know, and I'm not saying that she couldn't have included a romance for him, but it's so obviously not framed like that's a side thing. It's framed like that his love for Irene and her love for him is what makes him not depressed about the fact that he has a fucked up spine.
My goodness.
Like, which I hate. I hate that. So anyway, Irene tells K.L. she's convinced Hussar to take them on an overnight excursion to Ascara to celebrate Irene's birthday. So even K.L. and birthdays seems to be such a thing.
Really, he like only... Oh my god.
So whatever, they're going on this little mini vacay over the weekend. And we're back to Nezrin and Sartak, which every time we cut between Irene and K.L., which... Irene and K.L. stuff was boring, but at least because it was a romance, I could, like, try to enjoy it because I just resigned myself.
As a badly written romance.
Right. Like, I resigned myself so early in the book to what I was getting with that plot line.
Which is bullshit.
But the stuff, every time they cut to Sartak and Nezrin, I think that was supposed to be the action, like, interesting stuff of the book, and it just made me want to kill myself.
Why would you make the action and interesting stuff with the person who's, like, a new character?
I don't know.
Is that the only way we can like her if we think that she's integral to the plot and development of the story?
Yeah, I guess so. Even though K.L. is never important to the plot, and he...
But that's what I mean. He could literally just sit there. Just sit there, sir, the entire time.
Yeah, it's like, you know...
There was so much potential because he was such a polarizing character, and it just sucks that it never actually... Nothing came about it.
Well, it's a wasted opportunity to show that just because he's got a disability now that he can't, like, he can still add to the plot. Like, it would have been cool if K.L. did something significant even though he was wheelchair bound.
Coulda, shoulda, woulda.
I know. But anyway, Sartak and Hulan study the...
Who?
The clan leader guy.
Who?
Hulan.
Who? Lan.
Hulan. They study these maps a week before they decide to go. I guess, I don't know, like, what their plan is. They're just trying to figure shit out with the spiders, I think, because they think they're involved somehow.
Gosh,
I don't even fully understand.
You already said they were to the end plot,
right? Oh,
yeah,
they are. So anyway,
God.
I didn't even fully understand why they were doing any of this, but I was like, all right, whatever. So they're on an adventure, I suppose.
And you're, like, pretty good with picking up plot continuations. Like, you're like, a good reader. Like, you don't just, like, skim.
Sometimes I don't think so, but...
But, like, that's my point, is that if good readers can't understand what the plot of this fucking book is, Sarah, you did something wrong. Okay, Toby.
Toby just jumped on
He
our
just
table.
jumped onto my computer.
So, Nezrin mentions how much harder it will be to ask the Rukin fighters to join Aelin now that she knows the riders and their families. Which, fucking get it together, Nezrin. You're supposed to be the captain of the guard. Are you kidding me? You can't ask these people to fight a war against Armageddon because you know their families. They're all gonna die anyway if the Volgs show up.
Yeah, like
That's
she has
so
this,
stupid.
Well, she has this thing with family. She keeps talking about her Baker family and like how important they are, and I guess that her character is essentially that she doesn't want to destroy another family like her family was destroyed for her from war.
I get that, but it's still, in the long run,
like,
makes no sense.
Also, ma'am, you're the captain of the guard.
Get it together, bitch.
Like,
But
You have like a duty to do this.
Yeah.
Okay. Toby just stepped on my computer and somehow did not mess anything up.
Oh, okay, great. So they go to this place called Dougal Fells. I don't even remember why, but it's like this special location for some reason, and it's covered in spiders' webs. And they fly high over the area to investigate. They see a rook. Oh, a rook. That's what they're called. The rook is the bird things. They see a rook hatchling, but it's a trap. Like, they try to rescue it, but then they get caught in, like, one of the spider's webs. And they scramble towards the web. Kadara is tangled in, because Kadara, remember, is Sartak's
Yes, I do remember Kadara.
bird.
Not Katara, Kadara.
And the hatchling is injured, so Sartak begs Kadara to fly away, but the spiders descend upon them. And Nezrin shoots the one closest to them, because remember, Nezrin is fucking Legolas, and she can shoot things.
I was going to say Katniss Everdeen, but Legolas is also a good one.
And Kadara manages to get away, but Nezrin and Sartak are kind of stranded there, and so they run further into the mountain pass.
Good for them. Not.
Okay. Anyway, the group from the palace leaves for Axara. So Kaol and Irene are going on their little vacay, and the royals are with them, and they race on horses, because that was interesting to read about. And Irene and Kaol act embarrassed to join the scantily clad royals in the bathing pools to give themselves a chance to roam the grounds and search for the lost city. And they finally come across these old pillars leading below, and it's like got all these pictures on it, and there's like Fae and Volg, and they realize it's a Fae burial site. So this is a big deal because Kaol, and obviously also Irene, who's like well-read, didn't realize that the Fae settled anywhere besides their own kingdom and a little bit in Terrasen. Like, they didn't realize that the Fae were even on Antica in any way. And so he wonders if they bred down here on the southern continent to produce healers gifted in magic, which...
So now...
That feels a little forced.
That feels like a big jump, but it's definitely what's happening. So Irene is technically a Fae of long lineage.
I don't know. I suppose so. But if they can find someone to interpret the scrolls they have, they would possibly describe something the healers could do to help defeat the Volg. Is basically the conclusion they come
serious?
to. Yeah. Is the conclusion they come to.
Oh my god. You're fucking kidding me.
No, I'm not kidding you.
You're actually fucking with me.
No, I'm not. Which is weird because we've already established in previous books what we're supposed to do to defeat the Volg, which is to seal Erewhon away again.
So why are we getting another I know why we're getting another reason. Now that I'm saying that. I know why we're getting another reason. Fucking hell.
So I'm like, okay.
So now my knowledge from Kingdom of Ash is kind of
coming back to you.
The dots are connecting. It's like Shane and Ryan. I'm connecting you didn't connected shit. I'm connecting them.
Yeah, that's kind of what's happening.
Fucking hell.
So anyway, that was weird. And so they return and they get dressed for this evening party because we have to have another evening party. Like, Jesus Christ.
Superstar.
Hussar tries to provoke everyone at this party. She just says, like, some really embarrassing shit about Caution and Irene and, like, tries to make everybody embarrassed. And also, she makes a comment about how maybe Aelin should marry one of her brothers, but then Kaol explains the whole deal with Rowan, which felt unnecessary. Like, why do these people give a fuck about Kay? Like, you could just say she's engaged and leave it at that. Like, why do all these people give a fuck about, like...
the sexual tension that's happening between Aelin and Rowan, because Kaol knows that they haven't actually consummated their relationship yet until this book.
Yeah, well,
until the correlating timeline book. Like, he doesn't know that they're officially together right now.
Mm-hmm. But then Hussar hits below the belt and makes a comment about Kaol's chair, which ableist. And Irene literally fucking pushes Hussar into a lake.
Good for her.
Or a pool or whatever.
The thing is, I remember really liking Irene. I just didn't like that she was with Kaol.
It's so funny but that's batshit crazy girl. Like, she even knows it too, and everybody kind of tries to diffuse the situation.
She's so
by
Maisie
laughing.
Peters coded.
Yeah, oh my god.
Batshit crazy is a song of hers.
Yeah, so she pushes Hussar into this pool, and everyone is kind of like, ha ha ha, to try and, like, diffuse the situation.
Oh, that's just Irene being so funny.
And Hussar's like, I wondered when you would grow a backbone. Like, I'm like, doesn't feel like an authentic reaction. If you were a princess, you would be just straight up pissed. But, okay.
Yeah, oh my god. This is the bitchy princess, not the pregnant princess.
No, yeah, it's the bitchy. Hussar's the bitchy princess. Duva's the pregnant princess. We'll get to Duva. She becomes important.
Wait, okay. You keep saying becomes important. When?
I'm getting there. There's a lot of filler. Hold on. Let me get through this. I'm just reading this
is so
summary.
Fucking fillery.
Yes, it is.
This is just literally
it's all
a
filler.
fluffernutter sandwich with only fluff.
I don't know
The
how
nut?
anybody could rate this on Goodreads more than 2 stars, because there's like 4 chapters maximum that have any importance to the rest of the series.
Oh my, and like you're giving me little breadcrumbs. I feel like Hansel and fucking Gretel.
Yeah, but they're not even good, so wait.
I know.
Irene asks about Aelin and if things, and so her and Kay all talk about like his relationship to Aelin and basically like how he's over it and whatever. Oh, and this is the best. So he gives Irene this locket for her birthday gift because he notices that she's been carrying something in her pocket that's like small, and so he's like, whatever it is, it's none of my business, but here's a locket. So Kaol's like the man. Remember when he gave Aelin like a bracelet, like the first book or some shit?
The jewelry man.
He is. He's the fucking jewelry
Do you think
man.
he was the jewelry man that recreated the amulet of Orin?
Maybe. Well, maybe he's the one who ordered it.
Jeweler.
Yeah, because he gives her this birthday gift, and she is so moved by this birthday gift that they finally have sex.
It's the most stereotypical gift a man can give a woman. I'm giving you jewelry, haha.
Yeah, it's a locket, and it's a piece of paper that she keeps in the locket. And I'm going to spoil it now, but he doesn't know yet, but it's a note from Aelin to...
Oh, yeah.
From when she helped her in an assassin's blade. Which... hilarious that, not that they know it yet, but she does find out later that, like, this note is from Aelin, that Irene keeps a note from Kaol's ex-girlfriend in the locket he gave her, which is so weird.
I remember this note. It was a nice note.
Yeah.
It was when Aelin was Selena
It's
and
still
gave her a
kinda
bunch
weird.
of money to go to the Torre Chesme.
Yeah. I mean, I get why Irene kept it, but now keeping it in the locket feels a little
From
odd.
Kaol, and she knows that they boned.
Yeah, it feels a little odd. But...
Wait, I have a question.
Yeah.
When they finally fuck,
yes,
is he able to properly bed her with 2 legs, or is he still, like, seated?
I don't remember.
I feel like... Because
He's
remember
got
that was the
enough-
whole thing is, like, he was like, oh, I don't want to bed Nezrin.
He's definitely not seated. He's got enough, like, energy in his legs
momentum.
to, like... Yeah, he's got enough energy in his legs to, I guess, do missionary or something. But, like,
my God.
they have, like... They have sex. It wasn't great. Anyway.
He came, though, because of course he did. Because he's been...
Oh, and they have sex multiple times, and it's fucking fantastic. He's a beast in the sheets, whatever.
Ew. I mean, I don't want to know this about Chow.
It's not a very descriptive sex scene, but she says later, like, basically, after they
that
had
Irene,
sex
now
multiple
Irene
times.
couldn't walk.
That's actually funny. So anyway, we're back to Nezrin and Sartaq.
You want to borrow my chair? I still got it from when I couldn't walk.
He still can't kind of walk. I mean, but still, the point stands. But Nezrin, Sartaq, and Falcon climb the mountain pass, and they try to find a way out of the trap of spiders. But Sartaq gets stuck, and Nezrin can't pull him free, and he tells her that he has been in love with her this whole time, which really came out of nowhere. Like, I know I said that I knew that she was setting up Sartaq was an interest for Nezrin, but I want to preface that the only reason I knew that was because it's Sarah J. Maas, but there's literally no interaction that either of them have together that is romantic coded.
Anyone who goes off on a little journey together, they're gonna get together.
Yeah, even though every interaction they have is so not romantic.
It's so platonic.
They're just getting to know each other's information, like not even each other. Like they're just like...
What kind of a love-struck man is he, where he's hearing all this political stuff and he's like... Oh yeah, that's the hottest fucking shit I've ever heard in my life. Talk political to me, baby.
I know. It's so he's like basically confesses his love for her before he gets like pulled away by
dumbass.
He gets pulled away by the spiders, and she gives us like a fake out that Sartaq died, which I actually at first thought he really died, and I was like, oh shit, stakes. Like I actually thought that was kind of awesome. No,
there are never stakes in this fucking book.
No, he's fine. He's fine. It's fine.
It's fine. It's cool. You say.
And so she and Falcon leave with a plan, and it lands Nezrin in an unconscious Sartak in the spider's lair covered in spider silk. So Falcon is behind Nezrin, and he's trying to chew away at her trap because the spiders don't realize he's a shapeshifter. And the spiders come in, and this is the big information. Are you ready? I know you know it, but the spiders tell Nezrin that they go on this whole diatribe. Instead of eating Nezrin, they give her this whole story, and they say
That's usually how it goes.
They're waiting for the Volg queen who is in charge of them, Maeve.
Yeah.
So Maeve is a Volg queen.
Yeah.
Which I have so many issues and questions.
And Rory, remember you had asked me? I forgot it was the Stygian spiders that told this information
to Nezrin.
To Nezrin, of all people. I knew this, but remember when you're like, why does Maeve like work with the Volg? And I'm like trying to like, well, is she? You asked me, who is Maeve working with? Like in the last book, and I was like, well, is she working with the humans? No, she's working. She has an interest that's aligned with the Volg, but I didn't. I was so good, Rory. I was so good.
What's so funny is it still makes things make no sense. We'll talk about it later. But I texted my brother, dude. I was like, I'll read you the text message. It's so funny. I texted Noah because when I found out this information, and I said, Maeve, okay, guys, wait here and block this passage until I come back. I'm going by a different name and pretending to be a fae, but rest assured I'll be back to do evil shit with y'all in a couple hundred years. Spiders. Okay, sick. A couple hundred years later, spiders. Hello, random girl and her prince friend. We've eaten hundreds of people before, but want to hear about how our mistress has an evil plan before we totally eat you and you totally don't get away? Like, that's what it felt like.
No, that's exactly what it sounded like it was, but I need to reemphasize how good I did. I didn't spoil anything about Maeve and the Volg Queen. Because remember, like, you were like, I don't get it. She's just a fae. I'm like, yeah, but obviously she's an evil queen. You know, she's like the dark queen.
But her being a Volg causes so many more problems.
Yeah.
In my opinion, which we'll get to because I'm saving that for when we have this discussion. So I'm blasting through the plot. But anyway, Nezrin asks to hear the story. And for some reason, the spiders tell her that
she's like biding her time, trying to like whittle two sticks together to make a fire to cut her out of the silk.
Yeah, she's like, tell me about this evil plan, and the spiders are like, well, funny, you should ask. And instead of eating her and Sartak, they tell her that these three powerful dark kings conquered their world a lifetime ago, and they all three fell in love with the Dark Queen, who is Maeve.
Yep.
She married Orcus, who was the oldest of Erewhon's brothers, and Maeve was curious about what else is out there and found a way into Nezrin's world. So somehow they constructed these word keys, or the Volg kings made the word keys so they could, or did she make the word keys?
I forget which one, but the Volg people made the word keys.
So the Volg made these word keys so they could come into this world instead of their own world, which, again, issues. But the spider came with her and stayed in this spot to guard this gate between the two worlds. So apparently there's an opening where the spiders are. And Orcus found a way to control these gates.
Is the area shrouded in mist?
I don't remember, but whatever.
Because if you've read Crescent City 3, you'll know what I'm referencing.
So Orcus found a way to control these gates, apparently, and he made three keys, one for each king, and they went from gate to gate, conquering realm after realm as they searched for Maeve.
And so
which feels really stupid and petty.
And the implication is Erewhon is here. Where are the other two?
Yes, so
and who are the other two?
I'm sure this connects to this multiverse bullshit she's doing.
And this is where I'm also going to plug a future series that Noah and I are going to do with Rory, Have and Have Not, where Noah and I have read the entire Crescent City series, and we explain it to Rory kind of like she's doing to me right now.
So we'll talk about it because I have a lot to say about that. But meanwhile, Maeve found the Faeland ruled by two queens, got into their minds and convinced them they had an older sister.
Yep.
She got into the minds of everyone in the realm and convinced them there had always been a third person.
Yep.
That's so silly. Okay.
So the implication here is that Maeve actually is not related at all to Aelin.
Yes.
And I think I think technically Rowan is still related to Aelin,
Yeah.
but just distantly, because they both called Maeve, quote, aunt.
Yeah. I mean, it doesn't really matter, but we'll talk about that in a minute.
So it's Maeve, Mora, and Mab.
Yeah. So apparently she's so powerful that she can do this, but
Yes.
also not powerful enough to do other things.
Well,
but,
she's powerful enough to fake a mating bond between Rowan and...
Fake a mating bond, have people be blood sworn to her even though she's not actually a fae, convince an entire country of fucking fae who also have magic that she's always been the sister of these two powerful fae queens for thousands of years. Like, what? What?
If you think about the blood swearing, though, it's more evil than when Aelin and Rowan do their blood pack, it's almost like a strong suggestion, like an impulse. But with Maeve, because she's not actually a fae, she's a Vogue, it's more like of a compulsion. Do you get what I mean? Like the blood pack is a bit more hostile and a bit more all controlling, kind of like the gems were, and like the obsidian rings and collars.
Okay. I mean,
She's
all right.
not.
But when the Dark Kings arrived, they did not recognize her in her fae body, which, how did she get a fae body? Because the other Vogue have to, like, inhabit people's bodies. Like, where did she get a fae body if she's a Vogue? She just conjure one?
I'm assuming that she did it the same way that, like, Erewhon did with Duke Parrington.
So she inhabited some random fae's body?
And she has been for the last few
begs
thousand years.
the question, why don't more of the Vogue do that? I brought that up last episode. If she is a Vogue, this causes so many problems. If she is a Vogue, I said this last episode, why don't the Vogue inhabit the fae instead of the humans? How does that make sense? That the Vogue want to be in human bodies instead of fae bodies, which they can clearly do because Maeve is a Vogue in a fae body.
Well, they do it wherever it's necessary for, like, the political time. So, like, Duke Parrington was an influential human, so...
But she is the queen of the fae. What reason does she have to not have her Vogue? She mind wiped the entire fae nation.
Because she's waiting for something. She is waiting for something that you don't know yet.
I'm sure I'm going to be disappointed.
You
and
will
it's
be.
Still not going to make sense.
You will be. But she had to lie in wait for a specific amount of cosmic events to happen. And I'm saying that very arbitrarily so I don't give anything away. So there's a reason why she laid low and did not reveal that she was known as the Dark Queen. Remember I said that? Mm-hmm. She was known to be a bit off her rocker, but generally like just a powerful fae ruler. She was like the one that re-emphasize those folk tales about the evil fae and like how they're ruthless and long-lived and like they don't care about humans as much. But I can't get more into it and we'll move on after this, but she has a reason for laying low and not doing what you're saying.
Okay. Although I don't know, it doesn't make sense to me.
It will make sense, but you're going to hate it.
Okay, so when the Dark Kings arrived, they didn't recognize her in her fae body. She defeated them and took their keys. She sent the first two back to their world, and before she could send Erewhon back, Brannon arrived and took the keys from her, and that's the whole Brannon-Elena thing where
Correct.
They locked Erewhon away. And he wasn't sure what she was, but he could sense the darkness in her. Never shared that with anyone.
Nope.
Kept that to himself. Thought
it's
that
almost
was
like
important.
she was like a fart. You're like, oh, I acknowledge you, but I'm going to ignore it.
You know, okay. And Maeve greatly feared Brandon's fire, as all the Vogue do, and so he left, and Maeve built her kingdom with many powerful defenses in case Erewhon rose again. So she's not even working with the Vogue. She's working on her own.
She's working for her own interest.
In which case, why is she beefing with Aelin?
Well, just wait.
Like,
just wait. Just believe me. Just wait. You're going to hate it, but just wait.
Okay, but
just
all
wait.
I'm saying is at this point, it's very weird that she would be beefing with Aelin.
Now she is stuck in this land.
Yeah.
She wants to conquer.
Okay, so why didn't she ally with Aelin to defeat Erewhon and then to betray her later?
Because she's a dumbass. Because Erewhon and Maeve kind of...
But she's working against Erewhon. She wants to defeat Erewhon just like Aelin does. So why wouldn't Maeve just pretend to be like the aunt and ally with Aelin?
Because she's a dumbass. Because she doesn't think things through.
Especially when Aelin or Dorian is the key to like defeating Erewhon. Why wouldn't she use Aelin?
She is.
But she's using her forcibly. Why wouldn't she just make her do it? Why wouldn't she just pretend to be good?
You'll see.
Okay,
You'll
fine.
see.
Okay, so...
I'm sorry, I don't mean to get mad, but like... This is the only important part of this fucking book.
That's so dumb. So another spider comes in to warn that more rooks are approaching, and so then the spiders fuck off, and Falcon
I
shoos
like
them
how
both
they're
free.
like, I'm gonna eat you and reveal my secret plan. Oh shit! Dinner time's over.
Yeah, scuttle away. So they grab their weapons and flee, and Sartak was awake and heard the whole thing. So he actually wasn't unconscious. He knows everything now.
He's like, I love you. And then he's like, one eye open. He's like, no.
So
like reacting silently, like, oh,
they shoot.
she did what? No way.
No way. But they
Damn, I did not see that coming.
They start shooting fire arrows at the spiders, which I don't know where they got fire from, but okay. Because the spiders hate fire, just like the Volg. And Falcon shifts into a spider like them to stay behind and fight. And he asks Nezrin to search for his niece, who, this is where we get the implication that it's probably Lysandra. And the spiders descend on all of them again, and they fight the spiders, and it was really boring. And then they basically get away.
So if shapeshifting is potentially linear, and if being a fae or a demi-fae is linear, so when Lysandra and Adian have a child, it could be a half shapeshifter, half demi-fae, so like a quarter fae and a shapeshifter.
Yeah.
So this is like they're breeding an unstoppable weapon, essentially.
Yep.
Why? This is so fucking stupid.
Yep. Yeah. So it only gets worse. But anyway, Kaol and Irene are doing their thing. And when they come back to the palace after their little weekend boink fest, they realize that Kaol's room has been like completely trashed.
Oh no.
And
maybe it's the people that he called assholes.
No, it's not. It's probably the Volg, and they were looking for the scrolls that he and Irene have been keeping. So that, of course, they didn't leave them in his room. And so the one smart thing they ever do in this book, and he's got them on him, so they couldn't find the scrolls. And Kaol asks, I also love how everyone conveniently guesses correctly what's going on.
Like, oh yeah, it's probably the Volg. Meanwhile, separately, we find out that the Volg are also, like, involved with Nezrin's plot. And you're like, this is just a little bit too convenient, Sarah.
But that's everything in these books, though, is the level of, like, convenience is so funny. But, so Kaol basically tells Irene to go to the Torre where it's safe. But he also knows that Nezrin's coming back soon. And he doesn't want Nezrin to see them together, because, like, Nezrin will know until he talks to her about it. And so...
Hey, play it cool, but I also fucked her. And we're also kind of an item now, so, like, don't come sleeping in my bed no more.
So Irene, when she goes to the Torre, she talks to her boss, Hafiza, about the scrolls, and she tells Hafiza that she thinks that the healers might be involved in how the Fae might have... Like, how healers might be involved in this whole thingy, and that the Fae might have started their civilization here in Antica long ago because of what her and Kaol found. And Hafiza has a locked trunk full of wordmark books.
Alrighty then.
And her predecessor told her they weren't for human eyes until now. She basically lets Irene...
Very convenient.
Yeah, and she didn't even know what they were. And... Well, she doesn't let Irene look at them, but rather she basically tells Irene, like, kind of like if you need them. And Irene knows that Kaol knows somebody who can read the wordmark books, which is Aelin. Which is hilarious because in the first book, Aelin had no idea what wordmarks even were, but now she can read wordmarks.
Because she somehow learned conveniently in the very short span between the time that she met and befriended Nehemia enough for her to trust her to learn this ancient...
Yeah.
And...
she's fluent in the wordmarks now.
I always found that a bit too convenient.
That's so funny. But Irene says she's ending this today, and she's going in and conquering the darkness in Kaol's spine, and it ends up working. So Kaol is healed.
He stands up, he's like, yeah! I am Iron Man!
Yeah, Kaol's healed, but wait, he's healed-ish. And then they tell each other that they love each other. Ugh. Sick. Sartak and Nezrin are cool. And Nezrin tells him and his clan the full history of Erewhon and Maeve. And Nezrin tells Falcon that she might know his niece, because she starts to suspect that the niece is Lysandra, which, what does that add? It's like the same thing with Adian having a dad. I'm like, I don't give a fuck. Like,
I
why?
would rather have, like, no dad and, like, no weird uncle that makes it all too convenient and gives her this massive fortune, therefore. Because remember, they didn't want to give her land in Terrasen because she didn't have a title and because she was a courtesan. So now, because she has this money, she could come back and say, I'm a courtesan, but I'm also heiress to this massive fortune of this man who's in Antica. So therefore, you need to give me my title. It's so contrived. I just want her to earn something on her own. I want someone to earn something on their own. I want Kale to earn love, but he is given it. I want Lysandra to earn a title, but she's given it. I want Aelin to earn a heart, but she's given it.
Yep. Because literally, if Aelin wins this war and becomes the Queen of Terrasen who saved the world from this evil dark king,
she could make Lysandra.
People would just be like, okay, you can do whatever you want.
Because that's the implication of having this massive fortune now for Lysandra, is that, oh, like, she was looked down upon before because she was a poor courtesan, but now she's going to be a rich courtesan who can buy a bunch of stuff. Like, I just want a started from the bottom, now we're here story, because people say that's with Aelin, but, like, that was never with Aelin. She started off as a princess and an heir to, like, this massive, like, and, like, this dynasty.
Yep. No, I was literally saying that kind of similar sentiment.
Even Kale, like, he started as the Lord successor to, like, this city.
Yeah. Yep. No, remember I said, like, in previous books, I was like, why is everybody fucking special? Like, why does everybody...
Like, the only reason Nesryn worked her way up is because she was a soldier who boinked Kale, and then she was... Nesryn might have been the only one who earned what she got.
Yeah, but even then it's lame because it's not like she earned what she got through, like, her hard work. It's because she fucked Kale and he kept her around.
Yeah, I want to think, like, I was gonna say that, but, like, here's the thing. Like, the feminist in me hopes that, like, they were separate, but it doesn't feel like it.
No, it's not framed that way at all.
It doesn't feel like it.
It should have been, to give Kale a little bit of, like, redemption as a character, it should have been that Kale recognized her talent and elevated her. That, like, Kale, as the captain of the guard, saw how talented she was and, like, was like, oh, yeah, that one. We need to keep that one around. But no, it's they had sex, and so he keeps her around.
And then she's recognized.
Yeah. Like, that's so lame.
She's recognized by Dorian. So, like, Dorian enough to make her captain of the guard, but then how's she captaining the guard when she's not even with the guard?
I don't know. Doesn't make any sense.
Okay.
But anyway,
tangent over, sorry.
Nesryn tells Falcons she might, yeah, like I said. And so a messenger, oh yeah, and they get a message from Kale basically that they need to come back from their little trip, like, ASAP.
And is this the where everything congregates finally?
Yeah, so hold on.
Oh, fucking thank God.
So Kale tells Irene his full story, starting with how he met Selena and, like, basically everything that we've read up till now.
And this is probably where Irene finds out that Selena and Aelin are the same person, and that the locket that she has with Kale is actually from his ex-lover.
Yeah, basically. And he tells her how Aelin's fire burned the Volg demons out of Dorian and his father, and this makes Irene think that the Volg are parasites. So this is like a huge reveal that she thinks that the Volg are parasites.
Which we already knew.
And she thinks that her healer gifts could treat those infected by the Volg, like what she did with sucking the Volg evil out of Kale's spine, that she could do that to people without killing them.
Yeah.
Unlike Aelin, who, like, has to burn people to get the Volg out of them. And so that's... Okay, I want you all to put a pin in the idea that this healer figured that out. That there's a way to get the Volg out of people, that a healer figured that out. A healer from Antica figured that out, because that's important. Hold on. So, powerful people like Aelin and Dorian would have to hold them down, so that way Irene could do this. But she thinks it would work, and that's probably why Erewhon's minion is hunting her, because they think they know what her powers can do, which...
Well, that's so... We know.
Wait, it gets worse, because it's bad enough that Erewhon sent minions to Antica...
For this random healer who he had no knowledge of.
Well, let's pretend, right, we're going with Kaol's theory that the Volg followed Kaol and Nesryn to Antica, and subsequently, because of her time with Kaol, realized that she was... figuring out how to heal him.
Let's go with that.
Let's go with that. But then there's some information we get at the end that completely does away with that logic.
Okay, let's...
So, anyway, Hussar tells
Strap
them
in
that
and strap
Aylin's group
on.
defeated Maeve's fleet, which I didn't talk about in the last book, but the fact that she blew up all of Maeve's fleet, Noah even pointed out, like, that fleet is gone. Like, she has no more fleets. Like, there's no more ships. What is she gonna do?
She has groundmen.
So? She's got no fleet!
She's got no seamen, but she's got some groundmen.
That's like a huge deal. Anyway.
No, it is.
Yeah. Aelin calls in a debt to many people, the silent assassins of the Red Desert and Wendlin, and of course Antica, and she promises Hussar a better world if they join her, which, okay. And when they make it to the Torre, they look at these ancient texts, and Haphisa's nowhere to be seen. So, of course, Haphisa's been kidnapped, and there's an iron key wedged under the door. And so they search the Torre, and they end up in these lost tunnels beneath the library.
Fuck me.
Because of course they do. And they find her bound and gagged, and guess who? Okay, so they're bound. She's bound and gagged. Who do you think did this to her? Simple answer.
Dunya.
No, who's the bad guys?
The Vogue.
Right. So a Vogue has done this. What body do you think the fucking Vogue is inhabiting?
It's Dorian's brother.
No.
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 Ah.
It's fucking Duva, the pregnant sister
I said that.
who we barely see.
I said that.
Yeah, but I wanted you to get that it was a Vogue inside Duva.
Well, I got that.
Which, what a twist.
Oh, Duva. How long has she been inhabited?
A long time.
And no one noticed that she was a husk?
Yeah, so turns out that she's the one who killed the princess, Tumaloon. So she has been inhabited by the Vogue for months. Like, since before she got married.
And before Kael even got there.
Yes.
So they had groundmen on a different continent just because?
No, they have groundmen on a different continent just in case a healer figured out how to suck the Vogue out of someone.
Oh, so that's what you mean.
And not only that, but she asks, why didn't you just kill me? Like, you know, why don't you just kill all the healers? And it's like, oh, because you're more useful to Erewhon alive.
Yeah, that's true.
So, this is the plan. That Erewhon sent Vogue to Antica months ago.
Maybe longer.
To wait around for a healer to figure out, from completely separate circumstances, how to heal a Vogue wound so he could either kidnap or kill that person, depending on how dangerous they are.
And he didn't even know that this would happen, so just in case. And so why did they kill Tumaloon?
Because she figured out that Duva wasn't herself.
Oh. She could have chalked it up to pregnancy hormones. But no.
No, we had to kill Tumaloon. But you get how fucking weird that is?
Yeah, it's actually kind of contrived.
Like, that is so weird that that through completely separate circumstances, that is a weird coincidence that has nothing to do with anything, Kael, who is injured by a Vogue, shows up, and that's how a healer figures out how to suck the Vogue out. But Erewhon knew from the beginning a healer would figure this out, even though nobody in Antica is possessed by the Vogue except for the person he sent there to look for a healer who could know how to suck the Vogue out of a person.
And
like,
this is the big reveal.
This is the big reveal. Ooh, that's my brother. That is... Sorry, I'll call him back later. But that is...
Fine.
This evil Dark Lord, that's his magnum opus. That's the best plan he could come up with.
His mental leaps and logic are about as broad as Aylin's.
That is just... I had to pause the book and was like pondering that for a good long while.
Oh, is that when you texted me?
Yeah, I was like...
I'm almost done and I want to, like, scream?
Yeah, that was too much. So anyway...
Oh my God.
She says...
I remember, like, here's the thing. When I have read the synopses for Tower of Dawn, I know the broad strokes, but I couldn't care to remember that, like, Dunya or Tumaloon, or, like, I couldn't care to remember those names. So, like, I knew what the end thing would be, but I forgot, like, who gave the end reveal, and that it was actually supposed to be a big reveal. Like, for me, it was just like, okay, that's information that's important. Not that it's like the biggest point of this fucking book.
Yeah.
Not the reason you have to read this book.
Yep. So dumb.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yep.
it's just...
Absolutely. And so she also says that Maeve has been hoarding healers, which was never hinted at
No.
and comes out of nowhere.
Actually, it might have been. It was.
When?
In Heir of Fire. Because remember, some of the Fae, they had a whole section of healers. Because the gay Fae, the gay couple, one of them was a healer, I believe.
Okay. But
The other one
that's
was a
another
cook.
example of what I'm talking about, where it's
It's like it's not
so innocuous.
It's hinted at in
Yeah.
the sense that, like, I mentioned that, like, I wore a pink shirt the other day, and now today I'm telling you pink is my favorite color.
Yeah,
It's about that
Yeah.
hinted at, but I can see why Sarah J. Maas thinks that that's a hint. Look, I'm so used to her fucking writing that I can see what she means. Like, that's a hint.
Yeah, but that's stupid.
It is.
So, Duva threatens to kill Hafisa if Irene doesn't come with her. So this whole elaborate plan, which, by the way, killing that girl who looks like Irene, total red herring, meant nothing.
Oh.
So she never intended to kill Irene. She wants to kidnap Irene. So killing that girl literally had no purpose except to scare Irene, quote unquote, which is like, what?
But that scared her into finding the answers faster.
Yeah. Which maybe that's what Erewhon wants, but again, that feels really contrived.
She could have just been scared and been like, they need to increase security around here. Doodaloo.
Also, she was already going to figure it out because she was healing Kaol to begin with, so that was so unnecessary. Like, all you're doing is making her, like, figure out the answer and figure out who you are. Like, what? That's so dumb. Oh my god, I'm sorry. But anyway.
No, you're right, it is dumb.
Hafisa knocks her chair into Duva. And then there's, like, a whole fight. And then eventually, like, he uses a mirror to rebound this, quote, blast of darkness onto Duva, which again, I don't know what that means. Like,
I just want to picture smoke.
Yeah,
Yes.
like the fucking, Harry Potter black smoke.
Yes.
Like, from the fucking, whatever. And so it knocks her out, and Irene and Kaol worry about her because she's pregnant.
Now she's gonna give birth to a Vogue baby.
But she was faking it, and then she does another darkness blast, and it hits Kaol in the back again. And Kaol's feelings. Okay, so then Kaol's pretty devastated by this. But
This also implies that any Vogue can have these dark blasts of power.
Yes.
Because before, it was a strong Vogue that inhabited the king. It was a Vogue prince. Does that mean that this is technically a Vogue prince?
No, I don't know.
But that's what I mean. Like, where is the hierarchy of Vogue? I thought that we were just dealing with like a little henchman Vogue, but now they can shoot fire blasts. That means that they have to be a Vogue prince. They can't be the Vogue king like Erewhon, but they have to be powerful enough to deal. Like, that opens up a whole other can of worms.
Yeah. Yep. So, yeah. Hits Kaol in the back again.
And then Irene's gonna probably shoot a magical power thing and heal her, right?
Well, so Irene throws Kaol's sword at Duva and runs.
Oh.
Which is so funny. It was so comical. I literally laughed out loud. But then Duva chases
Chunkla
her.
off.
And Juva's chasing her and trying to put a Vogue ring on Irene's finger, which, just picture that visual.
Come here, precious!
I just picture, like, in fucking Monty Python, like Life of Brian, where, like, they're in the arena and he just runs away. And I just picture Duva holding a ring out, like running
That's
with
amazing.
the ring. It's so stupid. But Hafisa breathes sleep over Duva, which, why didn't you do that sooner?
Ma'am.
And so Irene can feel death imminent on Kaol and tries to heal him, but there's too much damage,
Oh my
understandably. And she feels her ancestors, quote unquote, moving in to help. And more Torre healers line up behind her.
No.
With their hands on his shoulders. It's
No.
very Feyre, like with all the fairies.
No.
And
I don't want you to save him. Don't save him. Don't save him.
And
Literally, he has no significance to this. He has revealed all the information now.
Yeah.
All the information's out in the open. We don't need to keep him.
Yep. And so they heal him, but Irene pays a price to bring him back, in that she bound his life to her life.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
And that his legs will only function properly when Irene's powers are at its fullest. And when her power isn't full, he will have to use a cane or the chair. And
That's so fucking stupid.
which I love that not only did I say earlier that K.O. doesn't get a character development that has nothing to do with a romance, but he literally ends this book in a codependent relationship. In the most literal sense.
No, this is a parasitic relationship.
Like, romance?
We can see it as symbiotic because he gives her dick and she gives him, like, legs, but, like...
Yeah.
It's no.
Like, dude, what? You better hope they don't break up, otherwise his legs are fucked.
She's gonna be like, I'm gonna keep just below full power.
Yeah.
Can you imagine, like, if she wanted to spite him after an argument, she's just, like, releases a bit of her energy and he's like, fuck, and he falls down.
Just jelly legs.
How did I not
jelly
know
legs, Jinx!
How did I not know the curse was just on Jellify? Oh, Toby's playing piano.
That's what it feels like. So anyway, we're at the ending. So they take Duva to the Coggin, they show him the ring, they finally fucking tell him about Erewhon.
Which is so stupid. And then Nezrin and those guys are about to show up and probably tell the exact same thing, right?
Yeah, so Nezrin does show up and K.O. realizes she has a thing with Sartaq and they're chill.
Toby, get down. Get down.
And
Toby,
so...
I don't want him to knock it over. Toby! Whatever.
So,
I muted my mic for that and it didn't even do anything. He doesn't care.
They talk to the Coggin about the war and whatever and sorry, I'm about to burp.
You're fine.
Okay,
I need to pause to get him down because he's standing precariously on the edge and he's gonna...
Okay, we're back.
Sorry.
So, alright. Anyway, so whatever. So that's kind of the ending, and K.O. and Irene meet with Nezrin and Sartaq to catch up on what they've learned in their time apart. They'll join Aelin and help mount a defense, and Hussar even agrees to join them too. So the bitchy sister. And Nezrin finds a 2-week-old note from her uncle and rushes to his house. Her father and sisters are there, and Sartaq shows up a couple of hours later, landing Kadara right in front of the house, which added nothing for me. And
it added a dramatic element, I guess.
And Sartaq meets her family and then takes Nezrin on a walk. And he told his father he's following the woman he loves into battle. And his father appoints him heir to the throne. So apparently Sartaq's going to be the next
Even though that's
king.
not how it was established to be.
Yeah, even though that's literally, like, whatever, completely
Oh my god.
makes no sense. But K.O. and Irene are
So now Nezrin's going to be queen.
Yeah. Yeah, if he and Nezrin get married, she'll be queen.
Or queen apparent.
Yeah. And it gets worse. So they're all sailing back to go, meet up with the rest of the crew. And it turns out that K.O. and Irene were married.
Yep, that always happens.
And they leave Antica a married couple.
That's it?
Yep. That comes off so reboundy.
Yeah. Hey, Aelin, you broke my heart, so I ran away, just like you did, but this time I came back married instead of in a situationship with the tall, hot fae.
Yeah. I just want you to know my notes. I said, what the fuck? K.O. and Irene are married? That's so stupid.
What is Sarah J. Maas's kink with having secret weddings?
I know, secret wedding. It's so weird. And I said, I get why Aelin and Rowan got married, because it's, like, political.
But what about Feyre?
That also kind of
What about
made
Bryce
sense.
and Hunt?
They get secretly married?
Yes.
Oh, I didn't know that. But Feyre and okay, so Rowan and Aelin made sense. That actually did make sense.
But all of these make sense.
Well,
and I say in like a flippant way.
The Feyre and Rhysand one made less sense, but this one makes even less sense. Like, why? What was the reason? I said them getting married is so cheesy. Like, was this the priority? In all of this, the priority is to get married?
Sarah J. Maas was like, I need K.O. to come back in a codependent parasitic relationship and married. That will show the readers. That will show them. So,
and I said, so here's some things I want to say before we go, because we still have a little bit of time. And these are my comments on what we've just heard so far.
Which is ridiculous.
So some of my notes, I say...
Wait, there's more?
Yeah, my notes.
No, I meant of the book.
No.
Okay.
So...
I was like, okay.
I said...
I forgot if... No, that happens next book. Never mind.
I said this whole mwahaha evil plan makes no sense.
Mwahaha.
This man has been working on this plan for how many centuries, and this is what he came up with.
He's evilly rubbing his hands together like, I did this so well. And it was literally that Duva was defeated with a...
Yeah. Yeah. And also they act like this whole thing with Irene that, oh, it's magic, there needs to be a balance. And I'm like, since when has magic had a balance in these books? Now
Never.
it needs a balance because it's chaos? What?
Because it's a codependent relationship.
Like, that's so dumb. And so I just want to say, I texted this to Noah, and I'll ask you
Whoa.
to... Yes. It's not that long. It looks long.
I know, but still, the fact that you are so angry about this is...
Because after the Maeve reveal and the whole thing, I had to clarify with Noah if I was understanding, because my brother read all these books, but I had to clarify with him if I was understanding this world building, like this whole setup for the last book.
Oh yeah, you told me that you did this.
So bear with me. You can say something after I'm finished.
Okay.
Okay.
I'll be quiet.
So if you see any discrepancy, you can comment on it afterwards.
Of course.
But Noah said that this was generally correct.
Okay.
So if there's like a tiny detail...
Generally correct up until your knowledge.
Yes.
Yes, okay.
So I said, you're telling me that Maeve married a Volg king and betrayed them, including her husband and Erewhon, who created word keys that opened a portal from their world to this world, disguised herself as a fae somehow while also becoming queen of the fae. Brannon and Elena, who Elena happens to be descended from a fire goddess, sealed Erewhon in his tomb with his own word keys somehow, and by sheer coincidence, Dorian's dad and Duke Parrington opened up this tomb that was sealed with fucking word magic and were possessed. But Dorian's dad regained power over himself against the Volg long enough to A, not tell anyone he was possessed, or B, kill himself, but enough to order a mass genocide of all magic users to protect them from the Volg and protect his son from the Volg. While also, at the same time, Elena, who is now a ghost, brought Aelin back to life to grow up a killing machine to one day hopefully defeat Erewhon, because Elena fucked up, but she just needed someone close to Aelin to get murdered to jolt Aelin into action against Erewhon. And Maeve, who has now become a Fae Queen, wants these word keys for some unspecified reason, and we don't know how much she's aligned with Erewhon, or at this point in time what she does or does not want. And even though one guy who was already possessed by the Volg, having a mass genocide of all magic users, was allowed for years, killing all the healers who might have figured out how to remove the Volg from people's bodies would have, quote, raised too many questions, according to Duva. So the right thing to do was to possess one of the princesses or princes in this foreign kingdom where the healers are, to hopefully either keep or kill this healer who figured out on their own, separately, completely unrelated from Erewhon's plan, how to remove a Volg from someone who has a Volg in them. Completely unrelated.
Pretty much.
Fuck off. I literally wrote to Noah, he goes, at this point, that is generally accurate.
Yeah.
And I go, I am flabbergasted. This is bonkers, Noah.
There were a few parts that, like, up until your knowledge, that is what is presented, but there's a bit more to it. So
here's the thing, right, about this being bad writing, is that I've realized, because everybody was saying to me, and even up till this book, right, that, you know, oh, you have to wait, you have to wait, you have to wait. And it's like, no, bitch. You can't, that's bad writing, that you're making me wait this long for the story to even make sense. It's one thing to have, like, a reveal, or one thing to, like, have it be like, oh, it's not what you thought.
This feels like reveal after reveal after reveal after reveal, because she's making up for all the times that she didn't actually give us accurate information to begin with.
Well, yes, but it's more like, you know, if you're writing and you have a plot that's like, okay, well, this person wants A, right? Like, they want A. It has to be that whatever A is makes sense. So if somebody's really hungry and they're like, okay, I want a sandwich because I'm hungry. You're like, okay, that makes sense. You're hungry. You want a sandwich. Sick. And then the reveal is later that they don't want a sandwich because they're hungry. They want the sandwich because they want to give it to someone else.
Yeah, that's pretty much how oh my gosh, that's like the sandwich question for AOB.
Yeah. Oh my God. Don't even talk about that. But no, so But do you get what I mean? Like, that's
Yeah.
how writing tends to work when you have reveals. It's like, okay, this person has this goal, and then it turns out the goal is different. But the way she writes is like, I need a sandwich because I need to use it in order to clean my sink. And you're like, why would you use a sandwich to clean your sink?
Because the bread is actually a scrub daddy.
Yeah, and you're like, okay. And then it's like, but wait, no, I was just lying. I'm actually using the sandwich to feed the homeless. And you're like, well, I guess now that makes sense. But before, I wasn't really jiving with this cleaning the sink with the sandwich plan.
That's actually a great analogy for, like, what bullshit is going on here.
You know what I'm saying? Like, because everybody's like, no, Rory, you have to wait. It'll make sense. And I'm like, but why do I have to wait 7 books for the plot to make sense?
Rory, you're going to hate From Blood and Ash.
I'm sure I will.
Actually, you're going to love it because you're going to hate it.
I mean, these books, Ronnie, like, this book, once again, like, I'm sure that I'm going to be disappointed because the reveals in this book to me still made no sense and they still gave me huge problems with the plot. And I'm just convinced that whatever quote unquote reveal is going to happen in the next book that makes this bullshittery quote make sense is still going to be stupid and contrived.
It is. It is. It is.
Ooh, my tummy just rumbled so loud.
But the thing is, you're also going to hate it because it was mentioned in the first book.
Oh, God.
Like a little Hansel and Gretel crumb.
That's so dumb.
Yep.
You know, I'm not saying that everything has to be predictable, but we kind of talked about this, but it's like, she is so bad at pacing. Her pacing is abysmal.
Oh, yeah.
And she isn't good at giving the audience something to potentially think about where the story is moving. Mm-hmm. And I'm not saying, again, that you have to be able to guess everything, but I can't be perpetually confused by what's happening all the time. You know, I want to be able to guess some things, you know? And it just feels like she's so up her own ass, you know? Mm-hmm. Like she is sucks her own dick so hard about how fucking smart she is. Oh my God, they'll never guess. Look at this reveal. Like this M. Night Shyamalan ridiculous, like what a twist, you know? Like thing in every single one of the books she writes. And it's just infuriating because it's not good.
It's upsetting because I love this series because of how batshit it is, and I think it's genuinely like a good way to get into like YA fantasy, and this book series has opened up the door for so many people. But after having read like genuinely good high fantasy books and genuinely good fantasy books, I feel like I like this series a lot less. Of course, it's always going to hold like a very special place in my heart because it's how I got into this realm, but it's also like now rereading it with you and like hearing someone who's not me make the same comments that I was just told were also like as the series is regressing with like have and have not, I have become less confident in that the fact that I actually like the series because the things that I was saying in my head, you're repeating, and I know that I'm not like being too harsh now because I had the same thoughts, but people told me the same thing. Oh, just wait. And I did wait, and I was like, oh, this is a pretty like nice ending. I like how it like kind of wrapped up, but it was stupid. And now you're saying the exact same thing, and it's giving me kind of some validation that I wasn't wrong in being skeptical on my first read of this. But I do love this series because I need to appreciate what it did for me, which is get me into fantasy.
It's so disappointing. Well, it's interesting you say that. So at least I feel like I'm not being too harsh on it.
No. I felt the same way, and like I felt the same way, but at the end of the day, I read it independently of someone else, so my thoughts weren't being rebounded. And like if you weren't doing this podcast with me, would you have continued the series?
No, absolutely not.
See, I did because I wanted to see how it wrapped up. But I felt kind of like...
I probably would have just Googled it and called it a day just out of curiosity. But I wouldn't have understood anything because the batshittery that happens, like, you can barely understand actually reading the book.
Yeah.
And the thing that I think I want to mention, just because so people don't think I'm like, we're talking about being harsh. It's like, I will enjoy most things if they make sense. Like, I really went into this, like I've said, wanting to like like lightly roasted because it's funny YA shit. Like when we talked about the first book, like some of what was funny to talk about was that the romance was kind of silly and like it's very YA and it's just
Very.
fun. It was just like a revisit of things I would read as a teenager and just sort of reflecting with adult perspective, like the YA genre was kind of my intention. But going into this series and seeing how many like gaping plot holes there are and how many plot points are so like contrived and how convoluted it is, like I generally am not this critical of YA books, because most of the time, even if they're stupid, they make sense. It's like there is a logic to them.
Question: do you think you are very critical of this because of the high regard it's been placed under?
I think that's part of it.
Because
I definitely
it's been
think, yeah.
it's been like the pinnacle of fantasy for so long, or counted as the pinnacle of YA fantasy, and you're finding so many faults with it.
Yeah, I think that's part of it. I also think the other part of it is that I read all of ACOTAR so far.
Yeah.
And I said in a previous podcast that I liked this better than ACOTAR, and I completely disagree with that perspective because ACOTAR was also convoluted and weird, but it made a little bit more sense.
I didn't like a lot of the characters in ACOTAR nearly as much as I liked some of the characters in here, so I'd still say they're pretty like on par with me. Mm-hmm. They're pretty about the same.
I think I liked ACOTAR better just because it was more cohesive.
Oh, that's wrong. It's going to go completely batshit.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh,
especially
no.
when you include the implications for the multiverse.
Right. So let's talk about that for 5 minutes and then we'll plug another episode we're doing. Is that Roni and I were discussing this multiverse thing that she's doing. No, you guys, we talked about Crescent City.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
That is the Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay.
So the implication here is there's 3 Volg brothers. Erewhon's in this world. Like Roni said, where are the other 2? And
we still don't know, by the way.
We still don't know, but I'm sure that it's connected to one of them's in Crescent City, one of them's in the ACOTAR world.
We still don't know.
Yeah. I think that's what it is. I think that's what what she's building to.
We don't know what she's building to because she hasn't given us anything to really grapple onto. She's given us more Hansel and Gretel like little crumbs. It's ridiculous.
Well, I'm sure when I hear about it, I will also again be disappointed.
All right. Well, the multiverse is something that I want to see what comes out of it because I know at this point it's going to be batshit, and I at least want to be present when the shit hits the fan. So that's really where I am currently in my Sarah J. Maas like love to hate relationship, because I didn't want to like her, then I did like her, and now I'm seeing what she's doing with these series, and like as we're getting to end of series, I'm seeing like a dip in the quality because she takes so much fan service and inputs it, and I really wish she didn't. Like she rewrote Crescent City 3 because she didn't like it and she only kept a few scenes, but I'm thinking, did you not like it, or did you not think that we would like it? Because your first draft, I would pay money to read her first draft of Crescent City 3 because she said it ends totally different, and I think the ending of Crescent City 3 is bullshit. I would pay money to get that draft. Mm-hmm. I would pay like a good $100 to get that draft. Like, I'm not kidding.
Nice. All right. Well, that was what I thought of Tower of Dawn. It was really bad.
It was really bad.
It was terrible. I can't wait to see what batshittery ensues in the next book. I'm sure it'll be fucking nuts. Oh, it's gonna be bad. By the way, before we go, I gotta say this one thing.
And you gotta plug the episode that you're talking about.
Which episode?
The multiverse one.
Oh, yeah. So we're going to do an episode where Ronnie's just trying to explain to me how the Sarah J. Maas lore universe works.
And that kind of works in with the episode of Noah and I.
Yeah, and then we'll do the episode with our very special episode of you explaining Crescent City to me. And that should be
have to do the multiverse though one after because there are spoilers in Crescent City.
Okay.
We also want to do a brief episode where in 300 words or less we describe the plot of Sarah J. Maas's Throne of Glass at the end. So like after everything happens, after the next episode is recorded and you know what happens, we're going to come back on. It's going to be a brief, like 20-minute episode where, I say that now, where we're going to literally take a Word doc, count the words to make sure they're less than 300 words, read it to you guys of how we see the series in that little time. And it might sound easy, but I feel like it's going to be very difficult.
I'm sure
we challenge you to do the same.
Yeah, we challenge you to do the same. That's a good idea. But you said in a previous episode, because there was that pregnancy fake out, that somebody gets pregnant. Who is it, Ronnie? Please don't tell me that that's true. That sounds so awful. No, it's not Duva.
Well, there's a pregnant person.
Okay, does somebody get pregnant in the last book?
I don't know. I'm not God.
Oh my God, Ronnie, please. That sounds so terrible. No! No! Oh, man. Okay, well, who are the contenders? We got Rowan and Aelin. That would seem too obvious. We've got...
Or is it?
It's too obvious. If it's Aelin, I'm going to shit a brick. Because...
Not a chicken?
That's so stupid. Oh, no.
Who are the contenders?
Well, the contenders would be Rowan and Aelin if Alid forgives Lorcan, but I doubt that it's going to be Lorcan and Alid. Adian and Lysandra, which would also seem really weird because they're not even really in a relationship. And Kaol and Irene, which would feel even weirder because they just got together in this book.
Who else?
Nezrin and Sartak, which would seem the most stupid because we barely know anything about them.
No, I would argue there's a stupider couple. You're forgetting another couple.
Who am I forgetting?
Dorian.
Oh, yes, Dorian and Manon, which to me seems like the most likely candidate, which I'm going to be really upset about. If it's not Rowan and Aelin, because... honestly, the most likely couple would be Rowan and Aelin because she's obsessed with them. But again, that's really obvious and lame. So if it's not Rowan and Aelin, it's got to be like Dorian and Manon because they make this whole big deal about like witchlings and like how it's like a rare thing and everything rare has to happen like a million times in Sarah J. Maas books. So I feel like if it's not Rowan and Aelin, it's going to be Dorian and Manon. Even though, again, they're not even really a couple. They just fuck a couple times.
Or a couple that we haven't even met yet.
It's not going to be a couple we haven't met yet.
Rory, we introduced love interests in the second to last book. I wouldn't put it past her.
Oh, that sucks.
Anyway.
I hate this. Okay, well, I think that's all I have. That's all the energy I can expend.
I feel like same, because this is such a depressing episode.
I tried to, like, have fun comments, but...
You do have fun comments, and I think we had nice banter, but at the same time, this is just a stupid book that has a lot of implications for the last book, but it's so ridiculous that now all this information isn't going to be delivered to our core few people until Kaol, Irene, Nezrin, and this other hunka-chunka PG... I don't know what his name is, get back and actually tell them. So we're going to now switch back to Kingdom of Ash in the state that we were in Kingdom of Ash, not knowing all this critical information. And we have to wait until Kaol comes back to tell them, or someone evil monologues like the Stygian spiders did, in order to actually know that Maeve is the Vol Queen.
Yep, pretty much. So I can't wait. I have a 45-minute drive home, Ronnie. I'm going to start listening to the last book because I need to get this out of my life.
You're like, I just need to expel this from my being.
I really do. But everybody stay tuned. We're approaching the end of
the first season.
Isn't that crazy?
Oh, by the way, we also recently have been cleaning up everything, and we are not going to be tag teaming this with Percy Jackson. Percy Jackson is going to be season 2, just so you guys know. So the original intention, not happening. So if you hear us in previous episodes saying oh, next week is Percy Jackson, wrong, incorrect.
Yeah, that's not going to happen.
Incorrect.
Yeah, we time.
We could be really professional and go back and edit the other stuff and include that in, but we're not. This is so unabridged. Literally, you hear us burp, you hear us yell at my cat. This is such an abridged thing that we just do for fun. So
yeah,
we're just doing it as we go. So thank you guys for sticking with us.
Yeah, and we'll see you next week. I'm Rory.
And I'm Roni. And this has been Have and Have Not. Tower of Dawn edition, or as it's in my laptop, the Tower of My Dick. All right, guys. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.